To the finance meeting. It is December. Do you believe that? December already. Where's time gone? For new folks joining in, for other folks who didn't know, the budget was passed 2 nights ago. And this evening, we're going to open up a finance meeting to talk about some really cool projects. So I would ask, who has not done it in a while? How about Council Member Gully leading us in the pledge, please? And just so folks know, for the regular, I have Susan Wells joining us to lead us in the pledge, and she's just going to talk briefly on the Stars for Troops. Okay, so Council Member Gully, take it away.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Council Member Gully. Roll call, Council Member Gully.
Here.
Council Member Ash McPherson.
Present.
Council Member Steele.
Present.
Council Member Cummings.
Present.
Council Member Zaluski.
Here.
Council Member McDermott.
Here.
Council President Mantello's here. We have all 7 present, and feels like we never left this screen. So presentation of the agenda this evening on the finance, we're going to talk about the first tranche of the American Rescue Plan and talk about some of the projects. The projects are proposals. They are not definitive. There are going to be committees, grant programs to appropriate these monies. And, you know, for me, the biggest thing is to see these monies go into the neighborhoods, revitalize many of our neighborhoods, whether it be Landsandberg, South Troy, the East Side, Sickaway, North Central, you name it. Some really good projects are in there that we're going to talk about momentarily. And, you know, as I've been saying, this is literally a once in a lifetime opportunity to really set the foundation for the present and future generations with these transformational projects. I mean, they really truly are going to transform neighborhoods. And think about $45 million, $46 million, more than half of our budget. So it's an exciting time. The council, for the members that won't be here next year, we hope that you join us and participate in future committee meetings, engagement processes, you name it, because, you know, we really want you guys to continue being a part of it. But it truly is an exciting time for our city, and the next few years are going to be. And I see Rick Morrissey's hand up. Rick, something going on?
I just want to correct a statement that I made last time before you get too far into this agenda. Last time, Council Member Cummings asked me if the seekers, there were 3 of them, I believe, which you had just passed,
Yeah.
Were related solely to the bond. After investigating that further, the seekers that you passed actually related to the underlying projects. However, I am satisfied that with them as they exist now. So I just need to correct that they're just not related just to the bond. They're related to the projects which were supported. One of which was the River Walk. Another one was the work at the golf course, and there was one other one, I think.
South Troy, maybe? No.
No, it wasn't.
There's a bunch of trucks.
Yes, it was purchases of equipment. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, Rick, that's a huge clarification. We appreciate your clarification. Thank you very much. So saying that, as I was saying, this is an exciting time. So for the council members who are outgoing, you know, Anasha, Ken, obviously, you know, we want the 2 of you and Eileen to be a part of this because, you know, it's just an exciting time for Troy, our neighborhoods, and we really want to make sure that these monies get into the homeowners, taxpayers, and residents, and really make a difference in our city and community. So I'm psyched.
I'm actually not outgoing. I'm very introverted.
That's not what Mike says. So public forum, Mara, I believe our public forum, the folks are signed up for the regular, correct? Not the finance?
Yeah, that's correct.
Great,
That's
thank you.
correct.
Thank you. Local laws, none. Ordinance 103, ordinance allocating funding from the American Rescue Plan Act and amending the budgets for the general capital projects and miscellaneous special grants funds in order to establish capital projects within the capital projects fund. A lot of capital projects wording in there. Council President Mantello, Council Member Zaluski, at the request of the administration. First, we'll take a motion, a second, and then we'll talk about it. Is there a motion?
I'll motion.
Motion, Council Member Gully.
I just wanted to beat Councilman Zaluski one time.
I can't motion. I can't motion for it.
Oh,
I'll second it.
Okay,
Well,
to
I'm
also
coming
be
back
Councilman Zaluski.
I'm coming back at you another time.
Don't worry, there's going to be 2 more meetings, a finance and a special. Is there a second?
Second.
Second,
I'll
Council
second.
Member
Go
Steele.
ahead, Sue.
Oh, I didn't hear you. Okay. We'll get you next time, Council Member Cummings. So
We tied.
on the discussion, I know that there were some questions from some council members, and I just want to say I'm really honored to be on the steering committee, and I really hope that I'm representing our caucus to the max. I feel I am, and I'm really trying to keep you guys in the loop every step of the way. So do the council members who aren't on the steering committee, Council Members Zaluski and I are, do you have questions? I would think you may, and then we'll take it from there. Okay, wow, no questions. I guess I'd like to just, go through real quick. So we have the Knickerbocker Pool, first round, 1.5 mil. Obviously in the second tranche. And Andy, do you have any idea when that second tranche may come from the Department of Treasury?
It has to be within 1 year of the first distribution, so we would receive it sometime mid-May 2022.
And I really wanted to, and I apologize, I didn't say this. I really want to thank the mayor, deputy mayor, and Andy. They've put a lot of time. Council members Zaluski and I are on the steering committee, but Andy and Monica have really been behind the scenes, really trying to work on not just the projects, but the foundation on how to get the monies out the door, the grant programs, the committees. And what I would say to council members, if you have ideas for people for some of these buckets for the committees, I forwarded one earlier, please send them to the steering committee and they'll be included. This is not, this is not our money. This is the taxpayers' money, and we're going to do it right. Council member Ash McPherson.
Thank you. When you asked if any of us had any questions, I have tons of questions, but I thought tonight this was just going to be an overview that you guys were going to give us as a council on everything of what you sent.
We're voting. We're voting in
Well,
finance.
I know that, but usually before we vote on something, you guys all go over briefly on what it was that you did. That's what I was under the assumption. I know we're voting on it. I read a lot of this.
Okay, I thought like folks contacted, the administration, et cetera. So, if Andy and Monica want to take it away, or the mayor.
I did have conversations on some of these, again, I'm fine. I'm good with this as we're going to go along. I just was, when you ask for questions, I'm like, I didn't really think we're going to get into the full blown of that piece of it. But I've got a lot of questions that I've been going and asking into different to the deputy mayor. I think I had a couple with Andy too. I'm not sure, but I'm good. All right, thank you.
Do council members have any questions? I mean, I honestly thought that everybody, once you got it, because obviously it's such a big deal. It, also was online announced. I mean, why don't you go through them quickly, Monica or Andy? Just talk about the project, the money, and and if anyone has questions as we go through. So the Knickerbocker Pool, we'll hit that. And
Okay.
park.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so I had planned to go through the with you and just kind of give an overview of the intent of the program. I mean, there was a pretty good in the memo support. Just a correction, it's 42 and change in millions, not 46 million for the total tranche for the 2 years. So the Knickerbocker Pool, this is something that's been, you guys had set aside some funding for the initial design and the concepts. You saw them. Some of you had seen them before. We've been working tight with the Knickerbocker Association to make sure that we had 1-to-1 ratio of area of green space versus new pool area that we took. Mark Pelosi's been great. His board's been great to work with. So this first $1.5 million will be for the demolition of the existing pool and the start of the construction documents. Not the start, the construction documents, and then the going out to bid phase, which should take us right over to about the same time period that Andy had just mentioned as far as the second round of funding, which will be the 6 million, and that 6 million will round it off and be able to allow us to complete the pool. This will be in the new location, and I think there was an overhead view that went out onto the renderings. It is located near the parking area. And it's actually pretty central. We wanted to try to get it away from the back side of the residential area, tucked away in the corner, so you had to hike to get to it. This actually brings it more front and center, and also dresses up the entrance to the Knickerbocker Park as well at the parking area, but also makes it accessible to the playgrounds and the Landsandberg soccer fields and the new field that we're going to put in. So it's a really great plan. I'm really excited. And this is an A+ plan. There was some initial conversation with some members of the council where they wanted it maybe to be maybe a little bit less, but we looked at some alternatives and it just didn't give the importance to the site that it needed to have. This is a destination pool. This is what we want our families, our young people coming into the city to be able to utilize this pool instead of going to Colony or going to Saratoga or going to other places where they're going to pools. We want them to come and do their summer in Knickerbocker Park. And we'll continue to keep you updated with renderings and drawings and stuff like that. And again, working closely with the Knickerbocker Association just to make sure we maintain. They were really keen on making sure that the green space to size a pool was maintained because they want to make sure they maintain their land. The city parks, I'll go forward unless you raise your hand or something like that and you want to get to me. The city parks, this is an additional $1 million to add to the 2 million, as you saw in the presentation of the parks plan by Aaron and crew and James at that meeting. There's a lot of dollars to be needed to invest in our parks. This will be additional funding for that so that we can actually get to a little bit more. And then we anticipate another round in the second tranche to the tune of about 4 to 4.5 million. And that should do a really good chunk of that work. And I do know that one of the new places that we've been asked about is the Little Italy Marketplace. I think everybody on the council is familiar with that location. It was a National Grid cleanup site many years ago, about 10, 15 years ago. And it's just literally a topped, capped environmental site that National Grid did. That's where the Little Italy neighborhood and a lot of South Troy does a lot of events, and they do some movies and some gatherings. to do some gathering sites there. They've asked to be included in the parks plan. So they've been working with TAP on doing a design of that location. So we want to make sure we add that. It's a really great site. There's not a lot of parks in that area until you get to Prospect Park. And that'll be a good way to be able to implement some nice gathering space that's still going to be maintained as a topped area, a capped area. So we have to be a little sensitive to the environmental condition of it. Education and workforce.
Sorry, just one brief follow-up on the.
Councilmember Cummings.
Thank you. I think that's a great idea. I know I've talked to you in the past about various ideas there. The only thing I will mention is considering including Hill Street in those designs. I think that section of Hill Street is of questionable value and certainly could do more as part of the park and as a cut through.
Yeah, and they do.
Obviously,
there's different renderings with the use of Hill Street or hit and miss use of Hill Street, like like through ballers and stuff like that. And they're putting some concepts to it. They did do some public meetings and stuff to garner some feedback from community members. They did some surveys and stuff like that. So they're trying to get their final concepts put together, and then we can work with them on that. Again, a lot of it is cap up. It's got to be brought into the site because it's not necessary. We can't go down. We can't dig into the site. Any other questions on parks before I jump to education and workforce?
Chair.
Yes, Councilmember Gully.
Hi, Monica. I do have a couple questions.
Sure.
I think in that little Italy, I grew up there. We played hardball there in that place when I was a kid. And it wasn't easy sliding into second base, but I'll tell you what, it's solid as a rock. So I think you could put a plate right over the top and build right up from it. I just don't know about running any type of utilities, well, water there, but you can always bring the power up. But I think it's a great plan to do something down there. It has a long heritage of being a place to gather from when we were kids, when there was a hole in the wall and you underneath the tracks under there. I won't tell you what we used to do, but that's where we used to go. So I think I'm excited to hear that. But I also want to ask about the park up on 120th and First. Is there a focus on that park also? Because that really is in need of a little cosmetics.
So that park is not in that parks plan that was presented. That park is not necessarily included in this first phase of that, but that does not mean, so when at the 120th Street Park, one of the things that we had actually approached the developer for the Landsandberg for the standard manufacturing site was actually help in actually seeing if we can improve that lot there with them because they're doing their parking lot right there and some other things that they were going to do. But one of the things you got to keep in mind too is that through our CDBG funding and through parks, we actually have ability to do equipment as well too. So even though it might not necessarily be within this big dollar amount, it's not something that we can't go and replace equipment with. And we can actually go, what I would like to see there, Jim, is probably like more like what we just put in 7th and Ingalls. You have a climbing structure and then a playground, like a swing separate from it, to allow more area to be used for green space versus the little spots all over the place. So that's something easily that Carolyn and the CDBG program and parks can do together in that area. So that would actually not have to dive into this funding as well. So we can certainly put it on Kevin and Carolyn's radar.
That is great to hear. And I just hope we keep it on the radar because it's just something that would be nice. Yeah. Maybe we could do, I know the kids love that. They built a fence out of pallets up there because they want to, maybe we can find a way to redesign that and build it even better for them out of pallets because there's a lot of structures now, but I'd really like to see some simple stuff up there. We'll get everybody happy. I know the neighbors up there and the kids would all be very happy. So thank you for putting them on the list.
Yep.
And, if I could jump in, I don't see the council like you just said, Jim. I see the community, hopefully engagement meetings, etc. As Monica mentioned, we were contacted by the Little Italy folks and, they're so pumped down there. They've had so many meetings and Barb Nelson has been down there with the sessions where she's been getting input and connecting it to Prospect Park and the trails and the Uncle Sam home. So saying all that, what I hope, Jim, just like North Lake Park and North Lake Avenue, I mean, it's in desperate need of repair. But what I'm hoping, like with all of these buckets, that outside of the major project that's identified, for the ones that aren't identified, like the workforce development, the parks, obviously, I'm hoping that we'll get the community really pumped up, have some engagement meetings, not us decide where that money goes. Because the beauty of these monies is the creation of the partnership. So if we can get the community, the neighborhoods on board to partner with these projects, to partner with the business, assistance program, et cetera, that's going to be the key to success with these monies. So you're absolutely right.
Council President,
Yes, Councilmember McDermott.
I have a question for Monica going back to the pool.
Sure.
Are they considering enclosing the pool?
No, we actually looked at that and it was going to be way out of our league.
Okay, the reason why I asked is, my kids are swimmers and they're struggling to find enclosed pools to rent in the evening.
Yeah, we actually talked about that, about trying to extend the season, even like trying to get it so that there was like some sort of, even like a movable
bubble?
structure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just, the cost was just beyond, this is A+ and it was triple A+, right? And that was part of the challenge of that. And it was just way too much. We were having a hard time swallowing 7.5 million, let alone, trying to, it was at least double that to do a structure on top of it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good question, Councilmember McDermott. Anyone else before we move forward?
Chair,
Yes,
just
Councilmember
want-
Kelly.
I just want to say to Councilwoman McDermott, that's a very interesting thought.
Yeah.
That I look at structures a lot, so I understand there's a big expense there. Boy, I'll tell you, if somebody could ever find something that would be dynamically good, like a 3-season cover, that would be really cool. All right, but anyways, just want to tell you that was a great thought.
I hear the Boys and Girls Clubs have both pools. Both Boys and Girls Clubs have pools.
They don't rent the one out in Landsandberg.
Do they?
It's too small. And they are packed to the gills at the Troy one.
Really?
There's 2 teams using it and they're quickly in and out.
Yeah, but the closure of the YMCA, it's definitely put a pinch in the community as far as pool access goes. That's for sure.
And Emma Willard. They closed.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that closed. Really?
They're not renting out to anybody.
Wow, my son took lessons there many moons ago. Wow. Do they still offer lessons, council member?
Yes, that's what my girls do.
Okay. Nice.
They're swimmers.
Oh, wow. Okay.
All right.
Yes, council member Kelly.
I thought they said that Y was going to reopen back up.
So the executive director that was in charge of this site, and I believe East Greenbush, has left. I haven't heard if they've replaced her or not. And we have not heard anything since we originally met with them. So we're really unsure of what their plans are right now. We thought that they would actually be open in September, October, and we haven't heard anything since she's left.
All right, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yep.
Wanna keep going?
So education and workforce. So education and workforce, this actually came about through, if everybody remembers, several months ago before the previous governor stepped down, there was an award to municipalities, Troy being one of them, of $700,000 in workforce development funding to be able to help. This was through Brian Williams and the Capital District Workforce Initiative. So they awarded $700,000 and it was an anti-gun violence program. It was designed to help 18 to 24-year-olds find work and explore careers and remove some barriers to employment. So we got a team of people together that includes Catherine from CEO, Youth Build, Team Hero. The Boys and Girls Club was involved in that. We also had Brian Williams, Leslie Chu actually from the Troy Savings Bank Charitable Foundation was involved in that for some potential additional funding if needed. And what we did was we actually created advisory groups and focus groups because we wanted to hear, instead of actually just employing this age group to just paint fences or to, pick up garbage and stuff like that, we really wanted to make sure they had opportunity to explore careers that actually encouraged them and empowered them and made them want to stay gainfully employed and stay somewhere and actually have good employment. So we actually pulled that group together. We did some focus groups and stuff. So in the spirit of trying to make sure that we get the funding out as efficiently, but also as broadly as we possibly can, this program, the Capital District Workforce Initiative, was something I thought that we could actually work off of. We could add, we were talking about adding the school districts into the program as well too. I've reached out to both superintendents. They are engaged and will be engaged. And I've reached out to like the YWCA, who has a workforce program as well, and some other initiatives. Part of the other piece of this is we reached out and talked to Hudson Valley Community College. Obviously, they are a major education factor for us, whether it's through regular education or it's through certification programs or certificates or anything like that. So we reached out to them about establishing essentially a scholarship fund or an education access fund. We're still working with them as far as what that actually looks like and talks like. So there's a core group of people that we've put together as far as this advisory committee goes. We would like to extend that out a little bit, but not create it too big, and pull in some community members to that. But this is something that's already in motion, and we're looking just to complement it and be able to expand it so that we can reach even more people. One of the big things that we did hear from Hudson Valley is although there's grant programs and scholarship programs and Excelsior programs and all these things that cover tuition costs, they don't necessarily cover certification costs. So if you want to be a welder, or you want to be an HVAC technician, or you want to go be a dental hygienist or anything like that, that's actually more certification versus an actual degree. Those programs aren't covered under those grant programs. So this would be a great way to be able to get people access to those opportunities. And especially with the new welding programs that we have out there, the need for that, the alternative energy programs that are out there for this, this is a really great way to get workforce in our pipeline so that we can create more employment opportunities. So that's something that's in the works. There's $1 million dedicated to that. And then we would like to see the success of that first before we dedicate the next round of funding. Anybody questions on that?
Yeah, on this one, when we were talking about in the steering committee, I think it's still not like totally defined, and I think this one will evolve as it moves forward. This is super duper important. It goes back, Jim, to what you talked about, temporary pooling, really trying to get folks more into the trades. The partnership with the various schools and BOCES are going to be key. Welders now, folks may think, it's a quick and easy training. It's not, it's super intense. But saying that, I think this one's a little loose in terms of the definition and in terms of, just moving forward. So I think this one will evolve as it moves forward. I think the foundation is beginning, but this one I can see will evolve as it moves forward. So
that's the intent of establishing the committee.
Yep.
So moving forward to business development, we've dedicated $2 million to the first round of funding. The first round of funding is economic development. So this is citywide. This is not downtown. This isn't for any specific area. This is citywide. And one of the things that we have found, weirdly enough, through COVID is that there's been a tremendous amount of business opportunities created, right? So people starting home businesses, brick and mortar starting up, new businesses, people looking to expand potentially as well too, or find new locations. And one of the things that we've talked about, and this dovetails back to the comprehensive plan, a lot of these pieces dovetail back to the comprehensive plan and the future Troy, which is the whole meaning of this funding. So this area is looking at places like Landsandberg and South Troy, the hillside neighborhoods, even I'm going to say Pauling Avenue up on the east side, that little business district that's up there, these little business centers throughout all of our communities, in North Central. And what we'd like to do is focus on investing in capital improvements to help these business owners find new brick and mortar or find brick and mortar locations for their businesses. A lot of the times what happens in brick and mortar is they tend to forget or not include their fit up costs, or don't recognize the fact of how much that stuff costs to fit up their spaces. Traditionally, a lot of economic development, business grant or loan programs tend to focus on, the startup costs, like if it's a restaurant, equipment costs and tables and chairs and like that kind of stuff. What I felt was more important is to actually invest in the property. Did you have something to say?
Oh, I said we, you said what I thought. Okay. We.
Sorry. Would you like to take over, Council President?
No, this is great. It's all good. I'm just saying, it was the steering committee, we.
I've been talking about the economic development programs of my experience with them. I'm not talking about this.
Okay.
So anyway, so what we as a collective economic development body have found is that a lot of the times those tend to be a little bit, it's harder to invest in material things like that versus being able to invest in the actual building and the amenities of the property. What also happens is if something does happen where the business fails or the business moves on, we don't lose that investment because the investment goes into the property. So I would propose that this also has a committee. This is also something that can be executed through the Troy Local Development Corporation. This is what they're supposed to be doing. The Rensselaer County Chamber, the Black and Latino Chamber of Commerce, the Troy Business Collaborative, which is a new entity that's coming in next year, the Downtown Troy Bid, and council members within targeted districts. And I think that this is one that would have a tremendous amount of community outreach with our partner with Relentless Awareness, business surveys, community outreach, looking at the industry specific pieces, and then actually doing some marketing around that as well too. The second piece of that is the American Theater. If everybody remembers pre-COVID, we were talking about the installation of a theater downtown, a movie theater downtown. Proctor's Collaborative is still interested in that. They did lose their initial funding grant mechanism. So this would be the but for COVID. So the American Theater, we would designate $1 million towards that for them to be able to open. The economic impact of having the movie theater downtown is huge. You've seen the benefits of that through other communities. It's, the economic ripple of sales tax, employment, tourism, and just another cultural amenity and event venue for our residents and visitors. Any questions on either one of those? And that's a one-time. The economic development, if it's a good program, I think could be augmented in the second round. But all of these things, I would like to tell you that there's going to be what I would say performance measures or metrics and stuff like that. And we want to make sure that they're viable. So once they are programs and programs are put into place and then starting to be administered, if a program is successful, then we can monitor it and make sure if it needs more funding, you guys, obviously can consider to fund a second tranche later on. And if it's something that's not doing well, or the program just isn't adopting to the neighborhoods, it's certainly something that we can recalibrate, reimagine, or just re-examine to make sure, see if we can make it a better program, or if it's just something that's not going to take hold. So there's always those areas to be able to re-examine and redeploy if needed.
And just so the council's aware, what I plan to do for next year for the council is have quarterly updates. And I talked to the steering committee about that, but Andy obviously will have the detailed monies, but we also want, as Monica stated, the performance and, you know, what has, not just the monies that have gone out the door, but what is the return on that investment, the ROI. So we really want to, you know, the council obviously needs to be those checks and make sure and ensure that obviously things are happening. And so anyway, we'll work with Andy on how we want to structure the reporting, but just to have, you know, kind of, okay, this is going out the door. This is what's happened. Obviously, the first 2 quarters may be slow, but just to ensure that the council is monitoring not just the monies, but the activity that goes with the money. So, Council Member Cummings, did you kind of, I think I saw your hand up, but no?
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to confirm and clarify that, you know, any of these money that are unspent can be reallocated to something else. It sounds like that's what she's saying. So.
Correct.
Great.
Thanks,
Council
Monica.
President.
Council Member Gully.
Monica, 2 things. On the economic development, I love the idea. $1 million is a good, nice chunk to start with, but there's so many areas around the city. Is there any thought if it goes out really quick? I know you said you look at a second program, but how are we going to get the message out to the businesses that this is available? I mean, we do the standard stuff by throwing it in the paper or throwing it on the website. How do we get the message out to the business owners that, hey, and the property owners, this is available? Can we do something like maybe throw in a tax envelope with something or some way to get message to them? Because if we get it out to them, we'll have a higher percentage. I'd love to see this be a success. I think it's a great way to utilize in many areas of our neighborhood. I'm specifically thinking about 2nd Avenue and Landsandberg that has become atrocious, and we need to do something there all the way up. And I know there's other areas in the other council people's neighborhoods. So I just want to make sure we can get that point out to everybody quick so we can get a lot of results so we can do it again and make a bigger impact with the second tranche.
So Relentless Awareness, the marketing and PR firm that you guys approved, they are actually, now that we've set these first categories, they'll actually work with us, whether we need community outreach or we need marketing around something, if they want to create a video or they want to create some graphics for us, brochures. That's what their focus is, and they're going to help us with some of those deliverables. The other piece of that too is the outreach, right? So one of the things we did very early during the American Rescue Plan funding, before we even got to this point, was we were actually able to pull some data from the Department of State on actual businesses in Rensselaer County and within the city of Troy. So we can actually do some targeted mailers. And we can also do that with the non-for-profits if we needed to do that as well too. Say, for example, like the daycare component, if we decided that the committee decided that it was something that was, you know, we needed to take a look and survey all the daycares, we can actually go to the Department of State and actually see if we can pull, or go to the Child Care Council and pull the daycares in the city of Troy. So there's all those little mechanisms, and that's what Relentless Awareness is tasked with as part of their workload.
All right, great. I appreciate that. And we just want to make sure that we, like I said, it's great to put these programs out, but I want to see them penetrate as deep as they can into our neighborhoods. And let's try to make this really work for us, because this is an unbelievable shot that we have right now. And it's a great shot. It's like steroids for the city, you know, and I want to see it really get out there and get the message out.
Absolutely. Landsandberg was actually my primary focus, that little village area. That was one of my primary areas, because it's got such potential and great stock, and it's got good anchors, you know what I mean? Especially if the fire department goes up in that area, but you also got Verdiles and you got some really good stuff that's going on up in that area. Just to kind of augment it would be good. And especially with the historic district designation that you're looking that Steve's working on and what the city's looking for. So I think it's a good combination package to be able to kind of put it all together.
Councilmember Ash McPherson.
Thank you. Monica, you mentioned a few times of committees. How are we steering committee, or who is going to be putting all these committees together? And how are you going to, or whoever is going to be reaching out to community members or community people, taxpayers and whatnot, to know that if they want to be part of these committees, how would they become one?
So, I mean, like the one, so let's take the economic development one, for example. So that was the local development corporation, the Rensselaer County Chamber. So we've had conversations with all of them, and they obviously are very willing to be on this and be a part of it. As far as the community members, this is something that we would go out to. Sometimes it could be just maybe a request for people to submit their, almost like their qualifications or their interest, you know what I mean? Others might be, somebody who's, a really good partner to the city. Like if it's Little Italy, obviously it's going to be Sam Chapone. You know what I mean? Like there's sometimes going to be a natural affiliation already. But if it's a neighborhood program, certainly we could reach out. I would really like to make sure that all of you are involved in your district area components, just because of the fact, or whoever's going to be here in the next, in 2022, just because you are also the eyes and ears and mouths essentially of the neighborhood in that district. So making sure that you're there, and also the partnership with the council if they have interest in somebody or hear from somebody. I mean, council president sent us one this morning or this afternoon for the youth programming. Somebody had already reached out to her, so there's always that avenue as well too.
Would there be any type of advertisement from the communications in the administration's office, sending anything out to the taxpayers? I'm just trying to get the taxpayers more engaged in especially in something like this. I'm just trying to figure out how we can get them more engaged. And I get it, the neighborhood meetings and whatnot, but you get the same people at the neighborhood meetings. I'm trying to see how we can expand to get others involved.
So that's actually, the neighborhood meetings were one of the pieces that we talked to Joe and Brooke and his team about a lot, because one of the things that I would love to do with this is community building dollars, right? This is literally building community. And we've all wished for decades to have this kind of money to do the programming we wanted to do. So one of the things we did talk to them about is how to work with those neighborhood groups. And by taking these programs, right, and taking them to the neighborhood groups to talk about them and then advertise them widely. Hey, we're going to be at the Little Italy Neighborhood Association, or hey, we're going to be at the Landsandberg Association, and we're going to be talking about these things, and send that far and wide. So hopefully there's two factions of that. One will be to get the community involved in the program and make sure they understand it. But the second benefit of that is actually, hopefully they'll know now that there's a neighborhood group, and then they'll be able to come to the neighborhood group and continue on that path. So that was my first piece, because we all know that some of them have the same people coming in and out all the time, and it's really hard to get the newcomers to the city or other people to come in. So we're hopeful that by being able to use the very expansive neighborhood groups that we have as platforms as well too, there will be a dual effect of that.
Thanks, Councilmember Ash McPherson. Anyone else?
Council
Okay.
President,
Yes, Councilmember.
I have a question regarding the childcare assistance. Are you going to be working with like home daycares that are registered through Rensselaer County?
So
Or are they just large ones?
No, it would be any kind. And when we get down to that, I'll talk a little bit more about that, because that's Andy and I've been talking about that a lot because it's a interesting one. There's multiple prongs to that one. So I'll talk about that more a little bit, because it's very prevalent and relevant right now.
I used to be a registered family daycare provider for over 12 years.
Yeah.
In my home.
We love you, because that's how my kids grew up.
Many friends love Eileen and her daycare. What I'm going to suggest, obviously council members read through these. How about we open it up to questions on some of the other projects? I do see that one of our regular meeting attendees, so Monica, maybe if we could go through them just a little quicker, that'd be great. And I do have someone coming in for 7 o'clock to lead us in the pledge, a very special guest. So take it away, Monica. Thanks.
Sure. So the next program is the Affordable Homeownership Program. This is the program that you have heard about for a few months now. This is the partnership between Habitat for Humanity and the Troy Community Land Bank. This is to create homeownership opportunity within the North Central neighborhood. And then, so this is the Habitat for Humanity program is 9 single-family homes, and they're new construction. And the land bank is, I forget the final number. It's significant though, and this is that Legacy Cities program, but they are also homeownership programs, and their renovation of existing building stock. So it's a nice blend of both. Habitat is actually working with TAP on, or not sorry, TAP, the RPI students on some of the design of the structures. This is a first round initiative, and then hopefully I would love to see a second round to go into a different part of the city as well. Home improvement programs. This is
Anyone have questions? I'm sorry, Monica. Okay, cool. Thanks.
the home and by any means, if anybody has any questions after this, you can certainly ding me for it. The home improvement programs. So everybody's familiar with the TRIP program up in Landsandberg, the Landsandberg Strong Initiative. Councilman Gully is a very big fan of this project. What we'd like to do is expand their ability and give them an additional $500,000 towards that program. What they could do is they can actually go to, I believe there's a level 1, 2, or 3 in that initiative. They did a lot of level 1 stuff, and this will give them some ability to kind of expand that program, which is amazing, and it does build community. One of the other ones is a home and property investment program. This is the one where there's going to be a huge amount of community input needed. This is community surveys, this is marketing, this is trying to get to the neighborhood groups. What does the community actually want us to help them with? Do they want, facades done? Do they want painting? Do they want, unit renovations? Do they want HVAC? Do they want sidewalks? What do they want to be able to fund with this money? And then we'll work with the marketing team to how to get that information. And then we can actually use TRIP as an administrator of this because they already do this program. Gail Palladino is a good partner over there. And they can also be, they can actually be the administrator without an economic issue as far as income eligibility, because I wanted to make sure it was a citywide initiative. Any questions on that?
Sure.
Yes, Councilmember Gully.
Is it one or the other, facade, sidewalks, or unit renovation, or can it be a multifaceted process where we can utilize all of those avenues to fix up properties?
That's what we'll have to see. Once we have the community outreach, then we'll work with TRIP and the partners and figure out what's the best way to do that for the amount of dollars that are going to be invested. I anticipate that this is one that if we get a lot of good response to, this would be another good one to have a second round of funding to. Okay.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah, I think this is so like those tipping point neighborhoods. And I know when we had the facade grant program on the LDC back under Mayor Lou, that this was a huge program, and it was a matching program too. It was a 50-50, and we only did up to $5,000 in grant, but it was a really big program and we had a lot of success with it. So I think this is a good one, and that builds that community spirit again too.
Sure.
I might add one thing. I'm hoping that when you do the sidewalks, you consider 7th Avenue by the high school because it is atrocious. It looks like a roller coaster track when you go try to walk. That's why all the kids walk out in the road. And it's because the trees are so overgrown. Do we have any plans? I mean, we have a lot of trees that are getting very oversized for the spots we're in, and to turn up a lot of our sidewalks. The roots start going down into the sewers and the water. Is there any plan thinking ahead? Because those trees are just going to get bigger if we don't do something. But is there any ideas that anybody's looking at moving forward? How once we do these sidewalk programs, we're able to keep them intact by maybe minimizing or eliminating some of the heavy roots that would crush them up. Just a thought.
Definitely.
That's a whole nother general services
Yeah.
committee meeting.
That's a GS major meeting.
It's actually a planning probably.
Yeah. Or Councilmember Ash McPherson, then Councilmember Steele.
Thank you. Councilman Gully touched on it and he said it several times, so I'm just going to reiterate. sidewalks, sidewalks and sidewalks, not just in Landsandberg in District 1 or 2. It's all over the city. It's the east side, it's the west side, it's every area of, so that's something that I would really be pushing for. I'm sorry, I'd ask everybody to push for, because we really need sidewalks in many areas of Troy. So I'll just say sidewalks again. Thank you.
Yep. Councilmember Steele.
I will echo that, Councilmember Ash McPherson. We need sidewalks all over the place, and making it easier for the homeowner would be great. I just need just a point of clarification. So part of this is going exclusively to Landsandberg, and then does the other portion, is that citywide?
Yes, so 500,000 is to augment the Landsandberg Strong Initiative, and then the million is citywide. And then I anticipated having a second tranche to the home and property investment component of that. And to be honest with you, when I talked to Christine very briefly, in addition to the Landsandberg Strong piece, she actually thought it was something that we could replicate in other areas of the city. Like if there was another tipping point neighborhood that could do a similar program as where this geographic area is for Landsandberg Strong, we could also focus in on something like that too. So, you know, it's flexible enough, and TRIP has great data on this Landsandberg Strong. They have good set of data to start with, which, you know, I think it's a great way, and TRIP is a great partner, and they have the ability to administer it easily. So
Councilmember Zaluski. Oh, sorry, Councilmember Steele, all set?
Yeah, just thank you.
Perfect. Yep. Councilmember Zaluski.
Yeah, Monica, I just had a question. The Landsandberg Strong Initiative, it's run through TRIP?
it is.
TRIP administers it. Is
Yeah.
there like, is there also like an, is there a local component? Is there a neighborhood group component where there's like a steering committee or something, or is it completely TRIP that's doing it?
So, actually, Councilman Gully can give you a good detail because he's been a part of it. So what they do is they actually empower the neighborhood, and it's block by block versus individual by individual. So the whole block has to come together, and then they have a block party, and it's whole. So they team build and community build while they do the improvements. It's a whole program. What I can do is I can send you, I think Christine had sent it out back when they started it, but I can send you the brochure or the PowerPoint presentation that they have if you want that, and I can send that to you.
Okay. And then my follow-up question to that would be, for the other neighborhoods, like what Councilman Gully was talking about with sidewalks, that's all over the city, certainly in any of the areas where there's a lot of street trees. For example, the Mayor's Street, Maple Avenue. You can't ride a bike down the sidewalk right now because tree roots have uprooted sidewalks to the point where it's almost dangerous to try and ride over them. And you're not supposed to ride bicycles on sidewalks. I'll mention that just. But so we need this everywhere. Would we do the same thing? Would we need to either go through TRIP or create local neighborhood groups that could steer the funding? Like, how do you plan to proceed with that?
So the home and property investment program that's being presented, this is something that we would want to do community outreach to find out what the actual property owners wanted to have. Do they want to invest? And it could be like Councilman Gully said, it could be, if like my sidewalks are pretty good in my house, but if I wanted to do something different with if I had, peeling paint, maybe I wanted to do a paint program, and it just depends. It could be something multifaceted, up to a certain dollar amount. I think we just have to go out to the community and find out, that's an easy survey that we can certainly get out to the community, whether it's by paper or by social media or by email. And we can find out what the community actually is looking for. I understand the issue with the sidewalks. I understand that. And if that's what the community comes back and tells us, then certainly we'll take a look at a sidewalk program. And maybe that's another way to do it. So, again, that's a really big one that you'll see. That was why I said the question marks in the backup on it was because what does the community want? You know what I mean? They need to tell us what they want to invest in.
Chair,
Yes, I believe Councilmember Ash McPherson, did you have a question? Councilman, if you could call me, it's easier. Thanks. Councilmember Ash McPherson, then Councilmember Gully.
Thank you. Monica, I just want to make sure I understood that you're not talking about the match for the home property investment. You're just talking about the match for the Landsandberg Strong Initiative, correct? You said, you were talking and you said a match, and I know the Landsandberg Strong Initiative was a match. That was done matched by block. And that was something that I brought to Councilman Gully when Christine Nealon first came out with it. We sat down and went over that. So, but the home property investment, I thought you said that you mentioned a match in that, and I was like kind of concerned. That's not a match.
No, so I was referencing the match, the facade grant program from the LDC went over really well, and that was a matching program. That was a
Okay, all right,
50-50,
thank you.
right?
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Gully.
so yeah, I'll make a brief explanation on the TRIP program. And I know that some people on the call or on the Zoom tonight know that I've had some people in the neighborhood that really weren't as engaged as they should be in the neighborhood. And it was a pretty difficult few months. And the TRIP program came along, and we started talking to Zach Carhide and myself. We went around talking to all the neighbors, and you had to have at least 5 homes on the block that would buy into the process. And what it was putting a new face, putting cosmetics on your block, fixing up the front of your homes. So we all decided to put LED lights down our walkways, and you know, some people put up new fences, some people put in a driveway to get the cars off the road. Our neighborhood the block looks really, really great. Now, we have a few people who didn't take advantage of it and now wish they did. So what it did was engage those people on the block. But the best part was that the neighbors actually got together, had to get together, sit out together and communicate. And they actually got to say hello to each other. And I have to tell you, it's been very peaceful on our block. And part of it is because we all got a chance to get out together and listen to the representatives from TRIP to talk, but it got us all to communicate. It changed a little bit on our block. So I'm very happy for it. I hope it works as well everywhere else as it has here. I can tell you that.
Okay, if we could pick it up a little, I mean, great stuff. Very, very good. Let's keep rolling, Monica. Further, before Monica goes, any further questions on this? I mean, this is a pertinent one. Okay, cool. Monica.
So youth programming, we have 1.31 million dedicated for the first round, and then a second round that should be funded. So the recreational sports, obviously, this is in our city code. We have a program. It's called, I believe it's called the Volunteer Recreational Youth of Troy. VROT is what I call it in my office. This is the 2 Scots administer this and oversee this for, these are our citywide programs. These are Landsandberg Soccer, Troy Central Little League, the Pop Warners, baseball, the Royals are in it. Landsandberg, the Landsandberg Little League is in there. It's like 10 groups. And also Jeff Curry and Kevin Pryor's basketball team is the newest one that you guys approved a couple years ago to add to that group listing. The reason we looked at this group was because it is in our city code. We do support them through our city budget, but then also this group actually has regular committee meetings. They actually meet as a group and a board. So they have quarterly meetings. The group itself, if you don't attend an X amount of meetings, you don't necessarily qualify for your funding, and they have to participate in a raffle program. And so it's pretty organized. It's been in place for decades, and it's a pretty well-oiled machine. So what we thought is a lot of the times when the city reimburses them, they reimburse them, anywhere from $1,000. We've even done recently to $2,500 on an annual basis. And this could be operating costs, it could be utility costs, it could be uniforms and stuff like that. And what we don't necessarily do is provide them a lot of funding for any capital improvements, bigger expenses. For example, I know the Landsandberg baseball team was looking to redo their field, their infield for their baseball and their and their pitcher's mound. I know that, one of the Pop Warners was looking for some shed and some other kind of stuff. So this would give those teams who provide opportunity for our youth within the city, the ability to invest in their programs on a higher level. They were very thankful. I did go to the last meeting with them and they were ecstatic about this opportunity. And I would actually extend this to them again next year. So they actually had an opportunity to do 2 rounds of this. So it's been long talked about for decades, most likely, or at least until the substation went out of business in North Central, that there is need for a recreational facility or community center. Let me say that again, sorry, a community center in North Central District 2. What we would like to do is actually dedicate some funding towards that initiative. This would be ideally centered and into this. What I would like to do is, because I have long since said that the city doesn't necessarily need to jump into youth programming on a full scale basis like it used to be a long time ago. We have really good third-party partners. The intention of this is to actually work with a third party to be able to site a community center in the neighborhood and have them operate it. This would help assist them in that process. One of the other pieces of this is actually community outreach. What does the community actually need? We all hear from several people that a community center is needed, but we don't necessarily get a holistic picture of what that actually means in the neighborhood. So I think part of that critical component is making sure that there is a dedicated initiative to go out and get community outreach done. And the other piece of this is, because there's this community center is important to that neighborhood, is making sure that there's already programming in place that will actually be able to go into the community center when it's done. So this is the creation of additional programming. So if it's a Girls Inc., or if it's, a karate club, or it's a Boy Scout club or something like that within the neighborhood that needs to be jump started, some part of this funding would actually go to potentially a year and a half of that creative outreach and programming to be able to make sure that when the community center is built, there's programming that walks right into the door as soon as you do the ribbon cutting. That way it's activated and we don't have some dark doors while you're waiting. The other pieces is Megan, who is our youth service specialist, has been working with some of the other connecting with all these other third-party groups, and also talking to a lot of other people out in the community. And what we'd like to do is make sure that we have some funding set aside for some monthly family and youth programming trips. We've been talking about doing some stuff with Rensselaer Plateau, Grafton State Park, the nature bus. Everybody saw the nature bus out in Albany over the summer. Actually doing some more field trips like that, whether it's through just our community groups and or family signups. So she's been creating and working on that over the last many months. So this will be able to help fund that. One of the initiatives we talked about was, and the Boys and Girls Club just recently promoted that as well. Holy thunder and lightning. Yeah. Sorry, it is like crazy thunder and lightning outside right now. But one of the other pieces that we talked about is, like, say, for example, a ski club, right? So it's a citywide ski club. Instead of, Thursday nights at Troy and Tuesday nights at Landsandberg, and your kids can't get to it because they have dance class, they can actually participate in a citywide one. And that would help bring community and build community within the city as well. So that's some funding that could be dedicated to that. Any questions on those two before I jump to childcare? Because I know Council President is looking at time.
Yes, Councilmember Gully.
Chair, I'll make this quick. Could we consider a bus down to the Yankee Mets game? The youth program. I will definitely go as a chaperone. So you let me know if you need somebody. That would be a great thing. Get kids invested in sports. Get them away from all that technology. Get them out in the baseball fields, basketball fields, soccer fields, and get them out getting some exercise. That's what we need to do.
I'll go to Fenway. I'll take them to Fenway Park.
Fenway.
I'll go to Pittsburgh.
So one more thought. One more thought I would suggest that maybe we could look into a youth golf program up at Ferry Park, where that year we had those young program. We had 30, 40 kids up there. They were loving it. I just think it was a great turnout, and I think that that might be something to look at for another thing. Get kids out of the house. Get them out of the house.
Yep, Absolutely. All those things are what she's looking. She's looking at like horseback riding, and she's been doing some good work. All right. Childcare assistance. So this was funny because we started out exactly what Councilwoman McDermott was talking about. And then, you know, the additional onset of variants and deltas and Omicrons and all these other crazy things that are wreaking havoc in our daily life. So one of the things that we have heard from people, whether they're our employees or just people in the communities, part of the challenge that we're having right now with, and I'm going to say childcare in quotes, is actually testing of COVID. So if a student is sick and goes home, or a student is homesick, and I'm saying student as any age group, right? From young all the way up to a senior in high school. Part of the challenge is they get sent home until they get a negative test. The problem with that is the tests now are taking upwards to 72 hours to get results in. So what we were trying to do, and by stroke of sheer miracle, I got an email today from somebody who's looking to do this. We're trying to figure out a way to actually increase testing in the city so that we can get kids back to school quicker, so that attendance is better, so that there is the ability to turn those a little quicker, but trying to find a partner. We did bring the school districts into this conversation. The county is working with them to get testing in the schools. They were issued a grant through the county health department. The problem is that the community can't go into the schools to get tested. So we're trying to figure that out. So there's an independent pharmacy that contacted us actually today. So it's one of those things that we're trying to figure out a way to talk to them a little bit more, see if this is something that they can do, and launch an initiative around this. In addition to reaching out to the daycares, the home-based daycares, and making sure that they are okay, because a lot of these a lot of these daycares that are within our community that serve the needs of the parents might not necessarily have gotten PPP loans or gotten any sort of funding. So we want to make sure that they're okay as well too. And if there's grant programs or something that we need to do to bolster them because they did lose funding and because they're having challenges with testing, we want to make sure we're cognizant of that, because they're very important to our economy and our workforce. Yes.
President,
Yes.
just on
Councilmember Cummings.
the community testing front, I brought this up a while ago, but I haven't unfortunately followed how the technology has developed since. But I know early on there was some very good success with some college campuses and others with actually sewage-based testing, where they're testing various lines, and you can sort of get a 24-hour test and see whether anyone in this area, or what the load in the number of people in a given area that have it are, and that can help then provide a direction for just your knowledge, be able to have a better knowledge of community spread, but also if you have it not just at the county sewer station, but at different subsections of the sewer system, that can be an effective way of being able to tell, does this neighborhood have an outbreak going on? So I think that, I'll have to look into whether or not that's developed further since I was looking at it last summer. But I'd certainly encourage you to work with Chris and others at the county, if that makes sense.
Well, the biggest thing for me right now is just to make sure that if it's an individual who is sick, right, that they have the ability to go get tested and they get results back sooner than 5 days. That's the initial onset of this. And then if there's expanded programs, depending on how this goes, then that's certainly something. I know Syracuse University does something similar to that with their dorms, only because my best friend's son goes there and they all got dinged. That's how they got dinged. So the next piece of that, anything else after that? I'm going to try to move quick. All right, so food access. We know food access is obviously something big in our community. The food desert, food apartheid, pick something. Not to belittle it or anything. It's definitely an issue in the city. We do have really good partners, and we have a new partner to the city that can help change that dynamic. We are looking at Bargain Grocery got their approval, their planning board approval. So they are looking to get jump started in 2022. So we'd like to, as a committee, make sure that we support them, but also Capital Roots. Capital Roots is a huge provider within the city, has been here for decades. Same thing for them. They have a new facility being done. Their facility is definitely one that will contribute to the neighborhoods and through their Vegemobile program, the co-packing, all of their initiatives that they do, the community gardens, obviously. So, making sure that we support them in their capital campaign as well. And then some of the other pieces that we've been talking about, because even though we do a grocery store here and we do a capital program here, we still have areas of the city that don't have a lot of access to fresh food. So working through these partners, actually look at corner store initiatives, healthy corner store initiatives, being able to expand those food delivery options. One of our partners has a Vegemobile that could easily be similar to a CSA process where they order food online and then it gets delivered to a central location and then they can pick it up. What we have found in a lot of our research, Dylan Turek at Economics Development did a lot of research around food delivery. While during COVID, food delivery options of every form and fashion went up, food delivery has not come back down. It's a trend that has started to stay. So we want to make sure that we are able to provide our residents with that option if it's something that they're looking for. And then we have been talking to, I actually introduced it to the superintendent of Landsandberg and also to Capital Roots, is taking the produce project program that's on 8th Street here in just outside of downtown that they work with the Troy School District on, and actually replicate one of those in Landsandberg and be able to offer the Landsandberg students a very similar program. Capital Roots was very all in on that. We've been talking to Amy Klein, the executive director, about all these initiatives, and some of their board members, and they're very excited about this opportunity, and hopefully we can start delivering that stuff and working on those programs. Andy, you want to jump into city programs? You want me to keep rolling?
It's up to you. You can keep rolling if you'd like.
All right, so city programs really quick. So part of the 2.336 is a review of the operations of the Troy Fire Department. We've talked about this before. This is something that we can do through this funding to make sure that we have adequate operations at our fire department, and then come out with some recommendations as to the best way to staff and to equip our fire department going forward. The fire department overtime program that we talked about during the budget process. This is a dedicated ambulance unit to the city for 10 hours per day, 7 days a week for up to a year. A constant evaluation of this program and call volume will be completed through the period. We estimate with the overtime costs that would be about $536,000. The relocation of the Landsandberg Firehouse is also included in this initiative. We do have a site that the architects will be reviewing. That is the old car dealership up on 2nd Avenue in Landsandberg. We've gotten their appraisal of the site, their listing price. Obviously, we'd have to do an appraisal on the program. So that $1 million includes the purchase of the site as well as construction documents. And obviously that would stay in an in-house account until the time that it would be needed. But we wanted to make sure we had dedicated funding with that so that when we were ready, we had the ability to make the purchase. The Alamo, or the Troy Resource Management Facility, as better known. So the Local Development Corporation actually owns that site. The city's been utilizing it for decades. The LDC would like the city to buy it so that it cleans it all up now that they're into the process of doing the National Grid cleanup down in South Troy, as well as getting ready to hopefully parcel all that out and sell that land and get ready for the next use. So this includes the purchase of that site and also some site improvements to make it a little bit more amenable to more frequent interaction in the next year. The GASB funding for an asset plan.
Yes, 1 second, Monica. Councilmember Cummings.
Sorry, just before we get too far along on the fire department consultant question. That's something I brought up with Ken. I don't know whether or not it got back yet. I think I don't remember how long ago it was that I brought it up, but anyway. I was wondering if it would make sense to include, or if there's a way to at least partially include code in that review, operational review. Mostly because I know there's been, if some firefighters are not EMTs, is there overlap with code, in particular around the rental occupancy program kind of inspections that might happen? I don't know whether that will end up making sense, but I would just like to make sure the consultants have the scope that they can be thinking about that as they go through.
I would defer to the mayor on that and the chief because they've been talking about it. I mean, that's not a code duty they do now, so it would be a new duty that they would have to add on. So that certainly would be part of the, if it was part of the recommendations, it would have to be certainly taken a look at. So, I mean, we'd have to look at that. I don't know if that's necessarily part of the scope.
Mayor, do you want to speak to the idea of whether or not we should explicitly add that to the scope here, or whether you can later if it makes sense?
Well, I think that the determination of whether some of the firefighters are not paramedics is way down the road. That's a structural issue. I don't know. I don't see the value in involving code at this time. They have a number of things they need to be doing. If we go in that direction, then obviously, yeah, we want input from the code department, but I wouldn't start off with that. I just don't see it as a good use of time.
I had a question. Are you all set, Councilmember Cummings? I did notice, and I should have caught it when, when we talked about it, you state 10 hours per day. It's actually 12 hours, isn't it? Is that a typo? Because, it's 9 to 9. Where'd the 10 hours come from opposed to 12? Because it's been 12, I believe, hasn't it?
No, I think a number of numbers were thrown around. I think our last proposal was a 10-hour stretch. I'm not sure. I'll go back and look.
Yeah,
That was based on activity and number of calls.
Maybe Andy, it doesn't have to happen now, but I did go, I looked back at an email. I thought it said 5:36, the prior time for 12. So we can look at that. Andy could check it out. That's fine.
Council President.
Yes, Councilmember Cummings.
That does remind me of the other thing that I've brought up a couple times in the past. Just want to make sure with the mayor, you feel that there is enough capacity to do this overtime within the department with current staffing levels.
I can't guarantee that. It's going to depend upon how the firefighters respond to the opportunity.
Okay. And so if they don't, or if there are shifts where there's not available, people aren't available for the overtime, it just means it wouldn't happen that day, or how would it?
Correct. Right. If we don't have the
program?
people, we don't have the people. So there's not an alternative to that.
Okay. Monica, want to keep rolling?
Yep, and then the GASB program that we've been talking about the asset plan for the city. This was included in that as well. This is something that the comptroller's office has been asking us to do for several years, and Andy would really like to have it done. The public art program is no secret that we love our art, and the art center is actually part of the comprehensive plan called for master plans as far as public art and those kinds of pieces. So we did that several years ago. The art center is our partner in that. This funding will actually let us get to the next big project similar to the Uniting Line. I've been tossing hints back and forth that I would like to see the Ferry Street tunnel addressed in the hopes that potentially that could be one of the sites. This would be enough to jumpstart either one or two large scale public art programs somewhere within the city. There are some initiatives for graffiti that the Art Center has been working on with Bill O'Neill to address the graffiti issue throughout the city. That we can probably do some smaller initiatives with them as well too. So we've been talking with them on various pieces of that. And Liz is ecstatic to be able to do that on behalf of the city and be able to pull the community together for that. The Uniting Line, the big project, the monster project. I don't think there's any kind of a project in the capital region that's been done to that magnitude. The Uniting Line is, as you know, the painting is just the start. The next phases of that, the second and third phase of the project, will actually include lighting and placemaking underneath that site. That will be one of the spots off of the Riverwalk. So we have dedicated for this next round $150,000 towards that project. That will help with the lighting and also the placemaking initiatives. This, as you know, has a tremendous amount of community input, especially in the neighboring community that it sits in. We'll continue that process with that group and with the city as a whole. Tourism, we have one of the things that's been challenging within this community is events. The city of Troy used to do events for the city, and then has also within recent years has relied solely on groups to be able to do the entertaining for us. This funding would be able to help us put that back in a little bit more right sense, being able to partner with some of our third-party people to be able to do and host some of these events. This $320,000 also includes some holiday programming. What I would really love to do is be like Cornell and be designated as one of the amazing holiday places to go, the city of Troy as a whole, to be able to kind of maybe form a holiday committee to be able to kind of focus in on that rather than put it on the backs of 2 or 3 or 4 people at the city, to be able to pull that together, actually create a community-wide initiative. The cultural institutions, so this is, we have the Troy Cultural Alliance. That is a collective of all of our many of our cultural institutions throughout the city of Troy. What we found in conversations with them is that they had a lot of issues, obviously, just like many others during COVID. And what they tended to lose, what they have a hard time getting funding for, is actually capital programs, instead of the education things that are, easy to fund, and people like to put their names on those kinds of things. So what we'd like to do is them as a committee. The Troy Cultural Alliance is a group, is an organization, a board, and then they make up the committee of that, is work with them to be able to provide some funding to those institutions to help them with some of their needs. Chris Nolan at the Troy Redevelopment Foundation and I have done a similar program with the Troy Redevelopment Foundation funds on a sliding scale according to budgets, and it's worked out really well. So we'd like to mirror that program with this as well, to be able to get our cultural institutions back up and going and being able to serve the community that they sit in. And that is it.
All right. So obviously, good things. Thank you, Monica. Thanks, Sandy. Thanks, Mayor. And we do have a motion. We do have a second. I would say stay tuned. Good things on the horizon. Some of these may fluctuate. Some of them may require more dollars, like the home ownership citywide. Saying that, we want to hear from folks. One of the things, the last things before we move for a vote, when's the survey? We had talked about, the steering committee talked about a survey for folks out there, for residents. Where's Relentless with the survey? And, Monica?
Yep. So now that we've developed the Troy Now name, the Troy Now initiative, it's actually troynow.org is the website, and they are creating the community input form. So what we're doing is, it's a community input form where we're going to ask the community to submit projects if they have projects they'd like us to consider and evaluate, and it'll have drop-down boxes with the categories of eligible funding and those kinds of things, and an ability to insert their plan or their project. and then a contact information so that we can reach back out to them. So that is in the works at the moment. They also are creating social media sites for the Troy Now initiative. So we'll make sure to get all of that out. And actually at the bottom of the press release, I think it had all of the handles that you can actually tie into, and then we'll continue to work on that. And then there'll be most likely some paid marketing so that we can get that far and out and get the reach. But the more times you share it, the more times people like it, the better reach we'll have. Okay.
What's the timeline, do you know, on the community input form?
Yep, we meet with Joe on Monday, so I'll have a better idea to give you on that.
Okay, if you could loop Ken and I, and so we could let folks know, and then we'll get rolling. Good, thank you. All right, moving forward, any other questions before we vote? Obviously, a lot of conversations will ensue. So we have a motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? All right. Resolution carries 7-0. I'll take a motion to adjourn, and I'd like to go right into the regular meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Perfect. Councilmember Gully, is there a second? Second, Councilmember Ash McPherson. Discussion.
Council President,
Yes, Councilmember.
just to correct a minor thing, that it's an ordinance, not a resolution.
Yep, I just saw that. Thank you. So moving forward, ordinance 103 carries 7-0. We have a motion, we have a second to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. We already said it. Opposed, and I'll close the finance. We'll go right into the regular meeting, and I'll ask Councilmember McDermott to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember McDermott.
You're welcome.
Mara, roll call.
Councilmember Gully,
Here.
Councilmember Ash McPherson,
Still here.
Councilmember Steele,
Present.
Councilmember Cummings,
Present.
Councilmember Zaluski,
Here.
Councilmember McDermott,
Here.
Council President Mantello,
Here.
7 present, none absent.
All right. I'll take a motion to approve the November regular meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes as transcribed.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion, questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, public forum. We do have a couple of folks. Before we get into the public forum, some housekeeping. Quickly, resolution 96 will be, please stop texting me. Resolution 96 will be removed because the reassessment, obviously, is.
I think you mean resolution 93? Resolution 93?
Hold on. Okay.
93 is the
Yeah,
GAR.
it's 93, GAR. So resolution 93 will be withdrawn. Additionally, we are going, since we do have the firm who will be putting in our timekeeping system, proposed to, is with us this evening and saying that we will be bumping up resolution 91 as the first item of business, just so we can get Hayes in. And I apologize, is Susan Wells with us, Mara?
Yeah, she is.
Okay, we went right into the regular and Susan was supposed to lead us in the pledge. But I'd ask for Susan to join us first with the public forum and to give us the scoop on the latest of Stars for Troops. She's been doing an amazing job and will be joining us momentarily. Hello, Susan. I see you're with us, but you're on mute.
Gotcha.
Hi, Susan. Do you have video possibly, or?
I'm taking care of that.
Awesome. There you are. I apologize to everyone, but since Susan is with us, do you mind indulging into a second Pledge of Allegiance? And I'm very, very sorry, Susan, but if you, we'd be honored if you would lead us into the pledge.
I came prepared.
Thank you. We'll use your flag. It's much better than the one I have. Thank you, Susan.
No, we don't have to do it again. That was fine.
No, let's do it. We would love for you to lead us. Thank you.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Susan. And I do apologize, but hey, 2 Pledge of Allegiances are better than one.
Right.
Come on. You can never, ever have too many Pledge of Allegiances. So Susan, talk to us about Stars for Troops and tell us what you've been up to lately. You're just an amazing person doing an amazing job with amazing people. So thank you.
This is my new friend, George. You recognize him as the first president. I received him last month or 2 months ago at the convention of NIFTA, which is National Independent Flag Dealers Association. And this is only given once every 5 years to recognize an individual who has performed extraordinary service to the flag industry, set an example of excellence, integrity, and professionalism for a prolonged period of time, shares advice and wisdom with others, both inside and outside the industry, and is interested in flags and banners, particularly the American flag as a symbol of patriotism and the heritage of our country. I was quite surprised and quite honored to go to Illinois to receive this. It was wonderful. This little project just keeps growing. As of right now, we have just from the Troy area, we have distributed over 1,026,000 stars. This Veterans Day, we had, in the month of October, we mailed out over 400 bags of stars. That's 400 flags in 1 month that we distributed. And I was excited listening to the items that Monica was talking about. Currently, I'm running this out of my apartment at Conway Court, part of the Troy Housing HUD building. And I'd love to get someplace where we can work with the communities and the children and have a place. I wanted a storefront so that people can come in and sit and work on the stars and help with the mailings, learn more patriotism, have a place where the veterans can come in and sit and chat and work. I've seen the healing that this does. It's really exciting. I just spent last 2 days at VetCon at the Desmond, and that's for veterans that are trying to start or have a business. And it was wonderful. The the relationship that I'm having with those people, they remember me giving stars. They tell me stories about what happened when they shared stars with others. And whenever I talk to anyone, I always say, I'm from Troy, New York. Why is Troy, New York important? And they always say, well, I don't know. And I say, have you ever heard of Uncle Sam? And they say, well, yes. And I said, he was a trustee of my church. And it makes them stop and realize that he was a real person. And that's part of why Troy is important to me. I've also started adding on about the Ferris wheel, that also is because of RPI. And George Ferris had the first Ferris wheel, and it was probably because of the Burden Water Works that were going on. So I would like to have Troy support me more in some way, as I'm trying to support Troy as much as I can. I'm excited. We've got 270 star makers around the world. I have 2 that are at APOs, so that's why I'm worldwide now. We're in all different avenues. This is an all age, all abilities project. And I would love to put Troy on the map for not only Uncle Sam, but for Stars for Our Troops. Oh, P.S. My mother's 104th birthday is Sunday.
Wow.
What are you doing special, Susan, for your mom?
My sister and I are having dinner with her, and my sister just sent me a text that they were pledging to the flag that my father held in downtown Troy when the World War I veterans came back.
Incredible, incredible, Susan. Happy birthday to your mom, 104. If only all of us could reach 104. Please send her our love and hugs. And I know that the mayor's sister is very, very fond of you and your mom, Kathy, and has been very, very supportive of Stars for Troops. And you really warm our hearts. This is what it's all about, Susan. Forget about everything else and, you know, the conflicts out there right now. What you're doing is what it's all about. And we thank you so, so much. You're an amazing person. And what I would state is potentially Susan might be able to get some type of grant through one of these buckets to assist you in your incredible worldwide efforts. So I will pledge my support to do everything I can to see you get some of these, a small, and that's all I believe you need, a portion of these federal funds to do the amazing work that you're doing. And really, maybe we can even entice some youngsters to join you and use it kind of as a workforce development type of initiative. So I think we can be really creative. And I just want you to know, I'll do everything I can. And I'm sure that the rest of the council, we could figure out a way to get you some type of grant to continue your cause and get you maybe some youth help and maybe even some adult help.
Well, it's all age, all abilities, and it's been wonderful. I've been to the Center for Disabled Citizens down by St. Peter's, and the kids helped and loved even the little bit that they did. They knew it was important and it was going to be something special that was going to be given to either someone in the military or a veteran. And it's wonderful. And the first responders, we added first responders in 2014 because so many veterans went into that area to protect us in their own way. And so it's been a lot of fun. I've totally, I don't like to be in the limelight, but for this I will.
Well, Susan, we just applaud everything you do. You're amazing, and you're truly, truly a role model for all of us, and not just the city of Troy, but our country as a whole. You're just an incredible, incredible person, and where you've taken this program from the first time I've met you, it is just truly amazing. So I think we could figure out a way to support your endeavors. And I will tell you very quickly, James, he actually, when he was with a work program, unfortunately, it was pre-COVID, and they haven't been able to have him in a work program due to COVID. But when he was in the work program, he was working on small flags. He was also working on bookmarks with his special needs class and the work program that they had connected with. So let's see if we can figure out a way. And thank you so much for joining us, Susan. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Take care and say happy birthday to your mom from all of us.
She's listening.
Okay. Hi, Mom. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
Take care. Okay, our next speaker is, I believe, Eric Wisher, Mara, and that is the only other speaker, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Eric will be joining us any second. There he is. Eric? Hello there. You have no video.
Yeah,
You
hold
are
on.
off mute. Very good.
Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
How about now?
No, there you are. Yes. Hi.
How you doing tonight?
Good. Thank you.
First and foremost, we'd like to thank Susan Wells for all she does for our veterans and their families, right? That's a great endeavor that she takes on and provides to those people. It's a great service that she does. Secondly, we'd like to thank everybody on the council and the administration for the money towards the new firehouse and the study that the council president proposed for the study of the fire department, and the peak staffing or surge ambulance. Every meeting I watch has been 12 hours for 536K. I hope that 10 hours is a typo. I didn't see any changes in any of the meetings I watched, but hopefully that gets rectified. But we'd just like to thank everybody for their efforts through the budget process to try and make things safer for us. The peak staffing is a great start, but the fire department's open 24 hours a day. And, 80% of our fires are at night. We need to keep working on addressing that issue with having firemen on the fire trucks when the ambulances are out. But we do appreciate all the effort that's put forward by everybody in helping try to rectify the problem. We're at a great starting point, and hopefully we can continue that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Eric. We appreciate you joining us. Keep us posted. We'll get you an answer on the 10 or the 12. Andy may have it now. I'm almost certain I saw an email, Andy,
I know
for
the chief,
12.
every time he spoke, said it was from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. from the studies he did. And that's what was talked about every meeting.
Okay. Andy,
Thank
do you have any info on that, or?
I do not.
Okay. Well, go ahead, Eric.
Well, thank you everyone for the efforts that are being put forward in the fire department. We appreciate it.
You got it. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Same to you. Okay, we will move along to the meeting and the local law. Bara.
Did you want to start with the resolution 91?
Let's, what I would like to ask, the local law, we are we, I'll ask after. Let's start with resolution 91.
The
With us-
93.
93. I can't get this reso right for some reason.
No, it's,
Okay.
93 was the one that was withdrawn.
Yeah,
91
so
is the resolution.
I
for
was
Hayes.
right. Thank you. I was right.
Okay.
Resolution 91, Mara.
Resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Hayes Company Incorporated for the purchase, maintenance, and hosting of timekeeping software. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Council Members Lewski, is there a second?
Second.
Second, I think Councilmember Gully beat you to the punch. Discussion, we do have two folks with us who I will ask to introduce themselves. And I know that you're here for any questions, discussion. I know a number of council members at the finance meeting had some questions and, you know, potentially had some concerns, saying that one of the biggest concerns before we go to Andy was the unions and communication, which honestly doesn't have to do with the two of you. But I did hear some good news, and I'll let the administration talk about that communication has happened, and as it's implemented, that communication will be relayed to the members. So Andy, why don't you start it off and then we'll get rolling.
Okay, so just to introduce everyone that's on this evening, John Hayes and Frank Aragona are both on from Hayes. Also, Selena Skiba is on from my office. Given the abundance of questions at the Finance Committee, we asked Frank and John to join us this evening. We're grateful that they are. I sent out a memo last night that I was hopeful would address some of the questions that were raised during the Finance Committee meeting. I know that there were also specific questions discussed at the meeting about warranty and things of that nature. John and Frank could speak to that. It was also addressed during the Finance Committee meeting. We had asked to have questions sent to us so that we could send them to Hayes. We never received any questions, so we're the basis we're going off of tonight is the questions that were posed during that evening's meeting. I don't know if council members had a chance to read the memo I sent last night. I tried to really address the operational concerns that were brought up that evening. So I just wanted to introduce everyone. Selena could speak to very much in depth. There's no one at the city who knows that process more in and out than Selena about payroll and the current system. So if that's who is here this evening to answer questions, and I don't know if there are any, but we will certainly answer them all that anyone has.
Okay, I don't know if the two folks, before we get into questions, had anything else to add prior?
Yeah, I would just like to introduce myself. My name is John Hayes, and I'm actually one of the owners of Hayes. And as I think you all are aware, we're actually right across the river in Manans. And our company has been in business for 50 years. We've actually represented Kronos since 1986. So we've been implementing, supporting and training, clients all over upstate New York. So we're really looking forward to the opportunity to work with you. And with me today is Frank Aragona, and Frank heads up our implementation team. Frank has actually about 28 years of experience implementing and supporting Kronos. So he's been very involved in the ongoing meetings with Troy. So Frank, do you want to introduce yourself?
You're on mute, Frank. You're still on mute. If I have $5 for every time I said
It's like the Workday commercial.
Is he the troubleshooting guy?
Yeah. Frank, you there?
Unmute.
I'm here.
You could be in
There you
trouble.
go.
I'm here. I am talking like crazy on my phone and you can't hear me.
We can hear
We
you.
can hear you now.
Oh, you can hear me now. Okay. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. As John said, I've actually been with Hayes for just about 27 years. I run our service department, which is really encompass everything from the initial presentations that we've done with the city of Troy through the actual implementation of the product to the ongoing support once you're live with our system. You will get to know our staff. As John said, we're right across the river from you folks, and we will all get intimately involved with each other and actually become friends. We enjoy the relationships that we have with all our clients in the area.
Yeah, and I think, to Frank's point, we really look at this as a long-term partnership. We have clients all over. We have cities, counties. And as Frank said, I think most importantly, you'll get to know our people. A lot of our customers, they, have our cell phone numbers. They have our email addresses. They'll call our help desk and ask for that specific person. So I think this is I think you'll really like working with our team, because we always say we have the best of both worlds for our customers. Is we have this Kronos, this $1 billion company behind us, but you have a local presence of a company that's all we do. We implement and support these clients. So I think, again, we look at it as a partnership, and really, I've gotten to know Andy and Selena, and we're really looking forward to the opportunity if given that.
Excellent. Thank you again. And I'll open it up. Council members did have questions. Andy, I was able to read your memo earlier today, and I do thank you for that. But I know a number of other council members had quite a bit of questions. Potentially the memo addressed those, but we do have Hayes with us, so I'll open it up. Yes, Council Member Gully.
Thank you for coming down and talking to us. And I do have a couple questions. Can you just go over the type of system we're going to have and how you feel the timeline will be between the purchase of the contract and the implementation into our offices?
Absolutely. I can start. Maybe Frank, you can add, but at a high level, the system that you're getting is really just to fully automate your whole time and attendance for your employees. As you know, it's a very manual process. It's very time consuming. And there's a lot of areas of maybe subjectivity. What the beauty of having an automated system like Kronos, actually now called UKG, is that once we gather all your policies, once we get all that information from your teams, all your departments, and we configure that software, it really takes the subjectivity out of payroll, and it gives it's going to pay those people according to those policies. So again, you can be assured every pay period that people are getting paid what they deserve. It also, one thing that I think Kronos gets a bad rap is it's like, oh, it's Big Brother. They don't trust us. They're watching us. This is so much more than a time clock. This is a management tool. This is something that will give your managers the ability to see in real time what is happening. Who's coming up to overtime? Where do I stand with my budget? If I schedule this person, will that person go into overtime? Just absenteeism, leave, accruals, having that in real time versus in a manual system, you don't have that access at your fingertips. So this is why, all the counties use it. So many cities across America use this. So again, it's, we could go into, big, much depth, and we will when we hopefully implement this with you. But we want to emphasize this is a management tool. This isn't Big Brother trying to, catch an employee, punching in for somebody else. This is a, bigger picture than all of that.
If I may dovetail that.
Excuse me.
Oh, I'm
Sure.
sorry, Councilmember Gully, you have another question.
So I appreciate that explanation, but I really didn't get to the point of my questions. The type of program the type of equipment that we're putting in, this is like a biometric system, and this will be able to connect with throughout our entire administrative system to, so as we add on other departments, this will all be able to unilaterally work together.
Absolutely. Yep.
And second is how long, and just maybe Frank's forte here, how long from the start of those communications to the time we see an effective product being utilized in our system at the administration?
Yeah, and I'll definitely jump in. Hopefully you folks can hear me. I'm not on mute anymore, but typically what we'll see is once we start the implementation, which is really what we call the discovery process, where we come in and sit down with your HR payroll folks who can help us digest what your policies are and get them in the system. We'll go through a process of what we feel would be a good rollout. We want to get some successful departments live on the system. And we typically see that within 3 months of getting actual individuals, managers, employees, using Kronos real time and processing that information through the UKG time and attendance system over to the payroll application. It really is, as John was saying, it really is a connected application where we're importing into our system new hires, terminations, changes to these employees, so that that's not done on manually done a second time where you can get mistakes, right? We talk about through the implementation, we talk about what you feel. We're going to go as fast as you want or as slow as you want. So it's really going to be driven by a couple of things. One, how quickly can we get through the discovery? And where we find the biggest hurdle is the differences that we find between policy and practice. Well, here's what we're seeing in your documentation, but this is what we're seeing actually being done out in the field by your managers. Who's going to make the decisions as to which way we're going to actually implement Kronos? We can do it either way. We want to do it the way that's going to best suit your organization. That's usually the hurdle that we have to get through, is identifying those gaps and those differences and getting those implemented. But once those are implemented, we can roll out as quickly as you want. And let's say you're now up and live and it's 6 months, 7 months later, and you decide you want to bring another department on. Most likely, a lot of what we've already done with the initial implementation will be used again for this next department or subsequent departments that will allow us to get them rolled up and into the system a lot quicker as well. I do want to say what John was saying is it's definitely a management tool, but the way this really gets sold as a complete organization is what you're providing to your employees, especially with these what we call the InTouch DX clocks, is they are a kiosk that's going to provide them real-time information anytime they want, and you want them to be able to use those to get what their time card looks like, what their accrual balances are, what their schedules are. They can do time off requests. So there's a lot of information that you can decide to deploy to your employees through these devices, which when we see that happen, the employees feel like they're really engaged with the application. They feel like they're part of it, and it eliminates a lot of that big brother kind of, oh, you just want to see when I'm coming to work and when I'm leaving. We want to capture not just when they're coming to work and when they're leaving, but what they're doing throughout the day. Do we need to do cost analysis and department transfers and job costing? Do we have to capture if somebody got called in so they get a minimum number of hours because they got called in on an off shift? All these things are captured through these devices. So they really are not just used for the time capture for payroll purposes, but they provide employees all this self-service information, again, as much as you want to push out to them.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Another question. How will the employees be punching in?
And that's going to be completely up to you. So the devices have different types of what we call badge readers. A badge reader can be a barcode, could be a prox, could be a mag. We could do biometric, where it's a finger capture. We can do what's called pin punching. This will all be how you folks decide you want to utilize these devices.
And
So then,
there's
I
additional.
apologize.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, Jim. Just in addition to the time clocks, there are potentially some areas that you might have employees log in via their desktop computer. You might have some, like, I think what we did when we first
Satellite employees.
proposed this. Yeah, when we proposed this, we had like 26 or 27 time clocks. Now we're down to 19. I think we took away a few to save money in low traffic areas where the employees could, again, just go onto a desktop computer and use that as a virtual time clock. So there will be another way to capture punches for employees.
Great, thank you. I appreciate the answers.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you.
If I could dovetail that conversation, because for me, guys, the big concern was the communication with the unions. And I did hear today that that's taken steps forward, which is great. But it sounds like there's a lot of interaction, communication with the unions prior to the implementation of this. And Frank, I think you talked in depth about that part of it. So that concern actually is addressed there. And one of the things I heard from the unions was it's not so much we don't want this, it was more just the communication. And so it sounds like between the administration and your company that's going to happen quite in depth.
I couldn't agree more. Absolutely.
Communication is the key. And, I think that's, again, your union leaders will get to know, Frank and Frank's team, and we'll be working very closely together. So, we definitely will need their cooperation to successfully roll this out.
Any further questions, discussion?
Chair.
Yes, Council Member Ash McPherson.
Thank you. I'm not sure who this is for. First, I want to say I worked in Chronos for many years. And it was a great tool as a management, because I did it in nursing homes.
Oh, great.
And we did it with the, some did badges, some did fingers, and some did clock in at their desks. I know this might go to Andy or Selena. When we were discussing these and talking, I asked to try to cut back from the kiosk piece of it, because I didn't feel that we needed the kiosk as much as we needed just the time clocks, because the time clocks has all those pieces in it for the employee to check the accrual time, for to put in further time off, for the management to go in and make adjustments to it and respond back to them. Yes, you got time off, or you don't have the time off, however they wanted to handle it. I think, Andy, you said in your text or your email that you sent out that we went from 26 down to 19. And out of those out of those 19, are they all just the time clocks, or are there kiosks still included in that? I might have missed it in the email.
Andy, want me to
remove? Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that's a great question, and the clocks, they're the same thing, whether you would use it as a kiosk or a clock. It's almost like an ATM machine. There's self-service components. I think we were adding additional clocks to be used just solely for self-service. So, during peak hours, there wasn't people trying to swipe in and somebody sitting there looking at their time card or how many sick hours they had available. So we were thinking maybe we'd add additional clocks to be used for self-service only. Now, the thing that we can do is during high traffic hours, or, a lot of, those shift changes, is we can turn off that functionality. So all they can do is punch in and punch out versus go in and look at their time card information or their schedule. And then we can turn that back on at different hours, off hours. So you wouldn't have people waiting to punch in. So I think. Go ahead.
Sorry, I don't think, and that's something you guys would figure out to turn on and off. I was managing a 600 bed facility and we never had that issue with people.
Okay.
The only time that we had that issue is when everybody was leaving and they had to punch out. If you're punched out 7 minutes before you were docked or seven minutes after you were docked. So that was the only time you had a little bit of a line of people because we had the time clocks throughout the facility. So
Okay.
I don't think that was much of an issue, but that's something you guys can decide on if you feel that.
Sure. And we'll work with, Andy and Selena and whomever to, to work through that and how you want those set up.
I was just asking as far as the kiosks, we went down to 9 or just to 19. And so that's where the savings is coming through.
We did remove the extra kiosks that were just for inquiry only.
Okay. And how many in City Hall are we going to start with? Just one?
City Hall, we were going to start with 2.
You're going to start with 2 in City Hall? Okay. 1 on each side?
Yeah.
Okay.
The
Thanks.
plan. Yep.
Thank you.
Chair,
Thanks, Councilmember Ash McPherson. Good questions. Councilmember Gully.
I'm just curious, in this day and age of technology and having the Chronos system, that they don't have some sort of like a mobile app that an employee could take their personal number and key it and they can look at their time or their personal stuff at some other time instead of bogging down a kiosk. I would think that would be a simple process with the technology that's out there today.
No, you're spot on. And we do actually have that capability. And, that gets to the question, how that will be used. We're actually selling you some mobile licenses for managers and then some employees. Managers will be able to go to their mobile phone. They'll be able to sign off on time cards. They'll be able to, edit punches if needed. They'll be able to add sick time or vacation time, anything like that. So managers will have full access to anything they would at their desktop right from their mobile phone. It does also have that capability to punch in and out via the phone. And that gets into the question of how Troy, do they want that? Do they want that ability? Does that device now become part of their job? Would the city of Troy have to maybe pay for that if they're going to punch in and punch out from their mobile device? So, those are some things. We have that technology available. It's just, how do you want to use it?
I apologize. I didn't mean in the sense of being a punch in or punch out anywhere. And I'm hoping that if people go in and adjust the numbers, that they have to have a spot there where they have to justify that with some sort of explanation to do that. But I'm thinking not in a sense that an employee would punch in or out with a mobile app, but just that they can punch in on the time clocks. But when they want to resource their information to find out what they had in time or what they've occurred, instead of tying up the clock, they can just pop it on an app and say, hey, this is what I got. And they can't do anything. They have no functionality except for just an information flow, for them. But that's what I was thinking.
You're right. And everybody today wants everything right at their fingertips on their phone. They use their phone for everything. And that functionality is available if you want to license all your employees. And those actually, that's like the most inexpensive license we have. So, that is, we could easily add that on to the proposal. And it really is, it's a benefit for the employees. So I think if they're just going to use it from the self-service and check their time cards and their schedules and how much vacation time they have available, maybe that is something that you want to, give them access to.
Thank you for the answers. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Beautiful. Good conversation. Anyone else?
Yeah, Council President.
Yes, Councilmember Zaluski.
So yeah, I have a few questions. Obviously, and during the last meeting, I was critical of. I was looking more closely at the hardware than anything else. I'm sure you guys are aware of this. So first of all, it's great that, the quantity has gone down. I don't think the unit price has changed in any way. The hardware is still the same cost. It's just that we're purchasing fewer of these devices. But my question is, I'm sure my remarks from last time. It's that these devices, if I'm looking at the contract correct, the proposed contract correctly, it's the badge reader device is $3,600, and the biometric option that you add on to that is $1,200.
Right.
So that's like about $4,800 per device. And I just like to understand, what are these devices doing that these that there's other devices out there that you can get for $300, $500, $800, sub $1,000. And then if you want to get fancy, you're into $2,000 or $3,000. But we're looking at almost $5,000 per device. So can you give me some details about the devices and explain why they're priced at that point?
Sure. And actually, when we did reduce the number from 26 to 19, but we did add an additional discount of 7.5%. So the clocks are actually just under $3,000 per. So, what is this? Yeah, sure. I guess you could find clocks out there that are, much less expensive than, Kronos is certainly not the cheapest option. But, what does the clock do? It's not just a time clock. There is, as we talked about, all that self-service functionality. It's capturing a finger. It's, so for those punch in and punches, the biometric option where you're, eliminating the ability for somebody to punch in and out for somebody else. But yeah, I mean, they are expensive. New York State negotiated this contract with Kronos. So this was the price that they came back with. So.
Okay.
If I could jump in as well, and I think maybe the phrase of using reader might be kind of throwing it off a little bit, because as a company that also sells our own products where we have an access and a debit solution, we sell readers as well. And the reader, when we say reader, our perspective is the little contraption that collects a barcode, a mag stripe, a prox. And those readers, you're right, you can get cheap ones, you can get expensive ones. But what we're selling is not really a reader. It really is an intelligent device that has a live connection back to a piece of software in a database that's presenting all this real-time self-service information to employees, right? Again, and the organization is going to decide what they want to deploy at each one of these devices. So not just capturing a swipe. Oh, I came in at 7 o'clock, I left at 4 o'clock, but there's functional options that will capture a bunch of other information. So it's not just a reader, it's an intelligent piece of equipment that, and on top of that, will also function in the event that you have some type of network outage, right? These things will function in an offline mode, collecting these transactions and everything that's happening at the devices until that network connection comes back up. And then everything that's collected in the meantime, you're going to get forward back to the database, and then will become part of the system for everybody to see. So you could still argue, again, what you're used to, whether they're expensive or not, but what we call these InTouch DX clocks are really intelligent pieces of equipment. They're like a computer themselves that are sitting on the wall.
Thank you. Are these all Wi-Fi enabled? Are they hardwired? How are they transmitting to the servers?
You can do Wi-Fi. There's a Wi-Fi option. Most of the time, it's an Ethernet cable. You could do PoE as well if you don't have the ability to run a power to those devices.
Yep.
But I would say the majority of our clients will put a live Ethernet connection into them. We do see the Wi-Fi in areas like we do ski mountains, and they'll put one at the top of a mountain. They're not going to run a wire up there, so they'll put Wi-Fi up there. But we see Wi-Fi now. It's an option.
Okay. What protocol do the devices use? I'm mostly concerned, of course, if it's Wi-Fi, but either way, are they, is there encryption from the device to the server? If it's Wi-Fi, if it's wired, or both?
Yeah, so the communication is a web protocol, so it's going to go either HTTP or HTTPS, depending on what you want to do. So if you want to get a cert, again, this is going to be on your internal network. So it's going to be up to what you folks want to implement as far as security protocol is concerned, and we'll do it either way. So if you want to put a cert on that web server, then we can have the same thing happen with the devices and have them communicate via HTTPS.
Okay, well, we definitely have a cert for them for our primary website, the troyny.gov domain. So I'm wondering if that could be, I mean, it depends on, I guess, what host names you assign to these devices or whatnot. But these devices are not just going to be at City Hall, though, right?
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know the locations, but yeah, they won't just be at the City Hall, correct?
Does anyone know where they might be?
They're going to be throughout the city. They're going to be at DPU. They're going to be at DPW. They're going to be the police department.
Okay, so then my question, Selena, hopefully you can answer this, is how is the city networked from places like DPU or DPW or the Troy Police? Are we, do we have actual like dedicated connections going between all of these to wherever our servers are? I think they're City Hall.
I can't answer that specifically. That would be a question for Quinn.
Okay. I'm asking these questions, of course, just for security issues, right? Because if these devices are configured, like, is it Frank?
That's correct.
As Frank was saying, with HTTP, which is basically in the clear, then you've got personnel data, traveling across the city's network in the clear. So we'd probably want to, use use HTTPS and encrypt traffic. But yeah, I'm just trying to feel like we'd be far more secure if we're fully wired, right? Because then someone would have to tap into the wires. But I don't think we've run. I don't know. I don't think we've run wires between all of the department, all of our facilities. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'd like to find that out. That's
yeah.
not.
But
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say you're absolutely correct. So one of the things that, and again, there's not a lot of information that's going back and forth between these devices and the software. So there's really not any PII information that we would be concerned with, but you still want to try and block that if you can, right? So what are we sending? We're sending a badge number because that's how we're identifying the individual down at the device. And then we might send a schedule so that we can associate the transaction with a schedule. And then what's coming back from the device, obviously, would be a date and time associated with that badge number that's coming back the other way. So we're talking about little packets of data that are going back and forth. But if this thing's going to be exposed to the outside world, outside your network, right? Most of the time they're not. Most of the time they're within your network. We'd see the majority of our clients stick with HTTP. Some of them will go with HTTPS. But if they are going to be outside your network, and we do have clients that do that, you definitely want HTTPS.
Right. Okay. On the software side of things, where's this running on our servers? You're saying it's going to be on our internal networks. I'm assuming that we host it, or is it do you host part of it and then we transfer data? What's the actual architecture of the product?
Well, there's John, you can, I know we've had discussion both ways, whether or not you folks are going to do it or we're going to do it.
We're going to host it, Frank.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. You're hosting all of Kronos.
Correct. On our AWS platform.
That's what I was going to ask you, if it's your own data center or if it's out in the cloud. So
it's Amazon. Yep.
Okay.
AWS.
Okay. So does that mean that these devices, they're on our network, but they're going to at some point transmit data off our network to the cloud?
Possibly. So you can actually set up, there's two ways to do it. One, you can have a VPN tunnel. So you can do it through the VPN tunnel. So in essence, you're not going out into the internet. The other way is, yeah, you can put an internet IP into those devices. And then what we do is we change the model of communication. There's two ways that we communicate with the devices. One is called server initiated, where everything starts from the server. The other way is called device initiated. So when you start putting your devices out on the internet, we change the communication to device initiated, which means the devices themselves, every time something happens at them, they send it to the actual server. So they have all the network credentials of where they're going, the passwords to connect to that server. So when they get a swipe, boom, they push it off to the server. And what they do is in a predefined frequency, whether it's every minute or every 3 minutes, they're doing a check back to the server to see if there's anything new for it to gather out of the database and pull back to itself.
Okay. And that's what's happening in the cloud. That's what's on Amazon.
Correct. That is correct.
Does this Amazon instance, is this owned and controlled by you guys, Hayes, or Kronos, or the city? Like, who's got access to that instance?
So we manage the server for you. That's part of what you're buying with our services. We manage the server. We manage all the OS, all the patches, all the upgrades to the software, to the OSs, to the database behind the scenes. So we're making sure that database is being backed up and stored for disaster recovery. So that's part of the services that we're providing for us, hosting it for you folks in AWS.
Okay, so do we have any access to it? In other words, let's say Quinn, our network administrator, wants to check in on stuff. Is it something that he's just not going to get involved in because you guys are doing it all, or is it something that he would have access to if he wants to, check on things?
Typically, they would not have access to this because what we do is the database itself is hidden in the back. Nobody has access to the database. The web servers themselves, the database is not even on the web server. So your individuals access the software through a URL. That's how you get all your data. That's how data is put in and pulled out. So it's through the APIs of the application. And this is something that can be discussed, but we have made accommodations with other clients where they actually want access to the data, where we've been able to coordinate for services, getting backup of the database itself and getting that SFTP to them so they can then pull that in on a routine basis if they want access to that information.
Okay, I'm glad you just mentioned that. I was just going to ask you if you offer any SSH or SFTP, basically shell access to that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that something that is that included in this? What I'm looking at in the contract here? Is it an add-on, or is it just something that if we request it, you open it up for us?
I believe that would be an add-on. John, can you confirm that?
That the AWS is included on this proposal.
No, I'm talking about the database backup that we've done for a couple of our clients where we back that database up and we SFTP it to them for them. That's not a typical thing that we do.
Yeah, no, that is not. I'm sorry. I thought you were just talking about in general, the AWS.
Okay. What database are you using on the back end?
It's SQL Server on the back end, 2019.
Okay. Okay. And then I guess your front end, what's Kronos written in?
Java, C#. I don't know all the engineering aspects of it. We don't do that, but that's the guts of it.
Okay. Do we own our data? In other words, if we
you do.
Okay. Okay. So even though it's on your Amazon instance, we and let's say we don't have this option to transfer the files, which via SFTP. If we said, hey, we need our data for whatever reason, do we have access to that any time, even if we're not in contract?
We would find a way of getting it to you, right? We wouldn't give you direct access to the database and where it is stored, but we would find a way of getting, if that's what you need and want, I'm sure we would find a way to get it to you. It is your data.
Okay. So we own the data, but it lives in your Amazon instance.
Correct.
If you would prefer to, host it yourself, that's fine. We're just offering that as an option.
Yeah, I mean, that's up to Quinn to decide. I mean, a lot of organizations nowadays, our IT department is very thin. So I'm assuming that our team would prefer to have you guys manage it.
Take that off your plate. Yep.
Right. Okay, that's all I have for now.
If I can for a second, the hosting is at the request of Quinn. Excuse me.
Yeah,
Quinn has been involved in this and preferred to have Hayes host the software.
Yeah, and that's what I'd expect. So that's good. Thank you.
Good questions. Very, very deep, Councilmember Zalewski. You lost me in a couple places until you said Java. I could really go for some Java.
Yes.
Moving along, and I do want to thank Selena also for being here tonight. Further questions, discussion?
Mr. President?
Yes, Councilmember Cummings.
Yeah, I just want to thank you all for coming to the table on this and offering that additional discount. I did want to check, I guess it's mostly Selena and Andy, assuming we pass this, is there anything that could prevent us from getting them a signed contract by the deadline in that discount, the 22nd?
Assuming it's passed, we would begin the contract execution process tomorrow. So I certainly would hope not.
Okay, great. And I just want, the language says they have to be ordered by that date. Does that mean ordered from Hayes or ordered from Kronos?
Well, it would just be through us. So we're acting
So
like
if-
Kronos. Yep.
So when we send you our contract, that's the deadline. It's not that you guys have to send the order on to Kronos by then, right?
Well, we worked this out with Kronos because we put additional discounts in there in addition to the New York State thing. So we're trying to wrap it up before, that Christmas week is kind of, so that's why we put the 22nd. If you really need to the 31st, we can. It's just trying to get things wrapped up before Christmas.
Andy, would that be helpful?
It would be, but the goal is to make it by the 22nd.
Okay.
And everyone, if need be, that's not a problem. As I said, to go to the 31st, that's really the quarter end. So, when we worked with Kronos on additional discounts, they basically put it as a quarter end. And, but we put the 22nd again, just because again, that week between Christmas is kind of, not the greatest week for business.
Sure. Okay. None of that's in the resolution itself. We don't need to make any amendments, or should we make an amendment just to be sure that timing exists if necessary?
Andy, what do you think? Or guys, Selena?
I don't think.
An amendment to say December 31st.
Yeah.
It's not necessary to be in the resolution. We can put it in the final agreement.
Great. And we'll work in good faith to try to get it by the 22nd, obviously.
Yeah, no worries. And Andy, if you need me, or Selena, if you need me to just, change that on the proposal, just let me know.
Great.
Councilmember Cummings, all set?
Yep.
Cool. Further questions, discussion? No? All right. Well, I just heard a sigh.
No, Council President?
Yes, Council
I'd
members.
like to request a slow roll on this vote, please.
Okay, fair enough. Mara?
Councilmember Gully,
Yes.
Councilmember Ash McPherson,
I'd like to thank the two gentlemen, Selena, Andy, for taking the time and answering all the questions tonight. And I vote yes.
Councilmember Steele,
I echo those sentiments, and I'm very hopeful that we're going to move forward. It's a long time coming. I'm very happy to say aye.
Councilmember Cummings,
At risk of stealing all Ken Zalewski's talking points, I will just echo what Sue Steele said and thank everyone and say aye.
Councilmember Zalewski.
To explain my vote. Yeah, look, I don't have a lot more to say. I've said, I've asked the questions I wanted to ask. I've talked about my feelings on the software. So let me say this. First of all, we absolutely need a timekeeping system for the city. I believed that, I don't know how many years ago it was now, 6, 7 years ago, when we first tried to do this. And I still believe that now. My issues have always been just with cost, especially recurring costs. I'm less concerned about initial costs, but recurring costs. The recurring costs are, my opinion, a little bit high, not horrendous. And I do appreciate the fact that, and I'm speaking to you guys, John and Frank, that, you came back to us with something that saves us some money. And it's actually fairly substantial. 30K, I think, is what it's dropped. And, I appreciate that. And I will also say that I know that Kronos is the Cadillac of these types of systems. There's no question about that. So you're never going to get an argument from me that there's some other system that we should have considered and skipped over. This is an excellent system. I hope that it works for the city. I hope it saves us money. At a minimum, it should make our accounting practices much more straightforward. You can't keep going on paper. We know that we've got to move to a paperless society. We're doing that everywhere, and the city of Troy has to get on board with that. So that's certainly important. So all that being said, I appreciate everything that you guys have done, and I have been convinced to support this. So I will vote aye.
Councilmember McDermott?
Council President, I've disclosed at a past meeting that my brother works for MM Hayes, but I would also like to disclose that he has no ownership in the company. Therefore, I'll be voting on this legislation and will be voting yes.
Council President Mantello?
Quickly, Councilmember Zaluski's right. We've been talking about this for, my gosh, actually since the mid to late 90s when I was first on the council when I was 15. And, this was talked about extensively, trying to get it installed here in the city of Troy. My biggest concern, while I appreciate, all the in-depth conversation certainly educated me, was the communication with our employees and just ensuring that the unions were on board in terms of the implementation. Because just so you guys know, we had gotten a flurry of texts that evening, that afternoon, what's going on? We agreed to this, but now we were told it was like months, if not a year away. So long story short, that has been patched. The communication sounds like it's flown really well. And that was mostly my concern. And it sounds like before implementation, she told us tonight that quite a bit of discussion, test trials, et cetera. So they weren't opposed to this effort initiative at all. It was more just the implementation of it. And sounds like that's moving forward very positively. I vote aye.
Resolution 91 passes, 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Thank you for joining us, guys.
Thank you, everyone. We
Thank
look
you.
really
Thank
look
you
forward to working with you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. Selena, thank you also. Thank you. All right, getting back to the agenda. Mara, let's hit the local law.
I see the local laws for introduction, and I believe will be on the
special meeting.
Finance.
Yeah, if you could read it for the public, that would be helpful. Thank you.
A local law amending and replacing Troy City Code Section 71-2 to increase the number of planning commission members and to change qualifications. Councilmember Zaluski at the request of the administration.
Thank you. And just so folks are aware, Steve, you were probably all copied, has notified the neighborhood associations on this local law and has already gotten some feedback. So thank you, Steve. It is for introduction only. If folks did have a question, Steve is with us. If not, we'll continue. Okay. Mara, ordinance 91.
Ordinance authorizing the reconveyance of real property acquired by in rem foreclosure, 428 First Street. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Cummings, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Ordinance 91 passes, 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Ordinance 92.
An ordinance approving settlement of tax certiorari proceedings instituted by Madison First LLC on the assessment roll of the city of Troy. Councilmember Zaluski at the request of the administration.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Steele. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Zaluski. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No.
Ordinance 92 passes 5 ayes, 2 noes.
Ordinance 93.
I'm sorry, you just need to give me 1 minute.
No problem.
Sorry, I somehow got something in my eye and I couldn't see.
Are you okay?
90
Are you
Yeah, I'm okay. It was just like an eyelash or something.
Okay.
Ordinance 93, ordinance authorizing the city comptroller to establish a new special revenue fund entitled Miscellaneous Special Revenue Fund. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully. Very quickly, the CM does not stand for Carmela Mantello. And just for folks, if anyone is watching, there was lots of discussion, debate on all of this legislation at the finance meeting. So if you feel we're going through it, we did debate this legislation, all of it, quite a bit and quite long. We have a motion, we have a second. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Ordinance 93 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Ordinance 94.
Ordinance amending the 2021 Special Grants Fund budget. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Second, Councilmember McDermott. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Ordinance 94 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Ordinance 95.
Ordinance amending the general fund, special grants fund, and miscellaneous special grants fund budgets. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Ordinance 95 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
With me, Ordinance 96.
Ordinance amending the 2021 General Fund, Special Grants Fund, Water Fund, and Sewer Fund budgets. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully. Andy, did we have any follow-up on any of these? I think you got them all, but I think there might have been one outstanding or no?
There's one outstanding, I believe, on 99, maybe?
Okay,
On the surplus property, there's
Oh.
one item outstanding.
okay. Discussion, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Ordinance 96 carries 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Ordinance 97.
Ordinance to appropriate funds in the 2021 General Fund from the U.S. Department of Justice Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Ordinance
Aye.
97 passes.
Thank you.
7
My
ayes,
son, sorry. Thank you, Mara. My son's laughing upstairs. So he's just making me laugh. Sorry. Ordinance 98.
Ordinance amending the special revenue budget to accept a New York State Homeland Security grant for the purpose of purchasing protective and emergency response equipment. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion?
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Ordinance 98 passes, 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Ordinance 99.
Ordinance declaring certain city-owned personal property as surplus and directing the office of the city comptroller to sell or dispose of the surplus property. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion?
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion. Andy.
There had been a question at Finance Committee as to what the equipment was for the Toros that are listed. They are both riding lawnmowers.
Thank you, Andy. I believe Councilmember Gully might have asked that, or Councilmember Cummings. I think it
Yes,
was
thank you.
Councilmember Cummings. Yes. All set? Okay. Further questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Ordinance 99 passes, 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Ordinance 100.
Ordinance authorizing settlement of certain opioid litigation claims, to wit, City of Troy plaintiff versus certain manufacturers, distributors, and chain pharmacies et al. Defendants. Actions coordinated under caption In Re Opioid Litigation, index number 400000/2017. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully. Quite a bit of discussion at the finance. Are there any follow-up questions for Rick?
Chair,
Yes, Councilmember Gully.
I just hope we think long and hard on how we spend this money that we bring in. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Gully, and also thank you for sharing your personal story at the finance meeting. Thank you. Further discussion, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Ordinance 100 passes, 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Ordinance 103.
Ordinance allocating funding from the American Rescue Plan Act and amending the budgets for the general capital projects and miscellaneous special grants funds in order to establish capital projects within the Capital Projects Fund. Council President Mantello, Councilmember Zaluski at the request of the administration.
Is there a motion?
Your
So
motion.
moved.
Councilmember Gully beat you to the punch, Councilmember Steele. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Steele seconds. Monica, I was wondering if you could go back over each of the projects.
Somebody mute her right now.
I'm sure you'll hear all about them as we vote.
Thank you. Honestly, the only thing I'm saying on this, I am just so extremely excited to partner with the stakeholders, the neighborhoods, and the city as a whole. As I said, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. We're going to do it right. We're going to do it together. I really want to thank Monica, Andy in particular. I know the hours that you put behind this, the mayor. I know that you supervise them, so I thank you for doing that. But saying that in all seriousness, this is, just a huge responsibility on our part. And moving forward, I'm just super psyched about what we're going to see over the next 2-3 years. Further discussion?
Council President,
Yes, Councilmember Steele.
while I would like to thank President Biden and Congress for making this opportunity available to us. Were it not for that leadership, we would not have this. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Steele. Further discussion, questions, thank yous.
Yeah, Council President.
Yes, Councilmember Zaluski.
Yes, not to belabor it, but I just want to say that, of course, this is excellent that, these monies are being used. I've been proud to be on this committee. I think the administration is doing a fantastic job at figuring out where to plug in these funds. We're allocating money to projects that we've been talking about for a long time. I can't tell you how many neighborhood meetings I've been at where the idea of a community center in North Central has come up. And it's not just in meetings in North Central. I've been in meetings in Osgood and Little Italy where we also talk about it. This may end up being a reality for the city and, for the North Central neighborhood, which would be wonderful. We got a state-of-the-art pool in here. The American Theater, like the old Cinema Arts Theater. We've been talking about this for years. Like, what can we do? Can we get it used again? And here it is, in this proposal. So anyway, tons of projects that are going to help out our city, help people find jobs, get skills for employment. I mean, it goes on and on. Our youth. It's exactly what I think we should be doing. And I know, of course, you hear on social media some folks that are negative about it or whatever, but the bottom line is these are good uses of the money. They're things that all of us have talked about, not just us here in the meeting, but in our various neighborhood groups. So it's a good thing. And on top of it, we're going to be soliciting input through the web form, and we'll be taking care of other people's projects and needs and everything else. So it's a lot of money and it's going to good use. And I hope everyone supports this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Zaluski. Further?
Fair.
Yes, Councilmember Gully.
While I know we're all excited over the money that we have, I know I especially am excited to see what we're doing with this city. I just want to remind everybody the reason we have this money is because the world went through such a detrimental time in history, and a lot of people took a lot of hits. A lot of our small businesses still struggle. A lot of our landlords struggling, trying to just get their feet back on the ground. So again, as we go through these processes, I just hope that we can impact them the most by getting out the word and getting the education out to these people that need it, that it's there for them. And I'm the North Central Community Center way overdue. We're not in the business of building community centers, but we are in the business of building neighborhoods, and that investment there will certainly go a long way to help that neighborhood out. And I'm just really excited. What a great year what a crazy year, but a great year for Troy between the ARP and the $10 million grant. I mean, I think we should all go out and buy a lotto ticket. I don't know. Just great time here.
Well put, Councilmember Gully. Further discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Ordinance 103 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
It's the beginning of good things. Hold on, I apologize. My computer just turned off.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we did not lose the voice or picture.
Resolution 89.
Resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Rensselaer County Historical Society doing business as the Hart Cluett Museum to place certain city records on long-term deposit. Councilmember Cummings, Councilmember Zaluski, Council President Mantello.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Steele motions.
Second.
Is there a second? Councilmember Ash McPherson, discussion.
Second.
Yeah, discussion.
President,
Yes, Councilmember Cummings.
I just want to thank our wonderful clerk, Mara Drogan, for making this connection and doing a lot of the legwork to ensure that this policy gets put into place. And I hope we can continue to build on it with the Historical Society. Hart Cluett. And all. So yes, thank you. And well done.
Thank you, Councilmember Cummings. Further discussion, questions? I also want to echo Councilmember Cummings. Mara, to take the initiative on this was awesome. Thank you very, very much. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Resolution 89 passes, 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Resolution 91. We have
we
already
already-
addressed it. Yep. Resolution 92.
Resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into agreements with Highmark Northeastern New York and the HM Life Insurance Company of New York for the purpose of administering the city's self-funded health and pharmacy insurance benefits programs and to provide stop-loss insurance coverage for the years 2022, 2023, and 2024. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zalusky. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember McDermott. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Resolution 92 passes, 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Resolution 93 is withdrawn. Resolution 96.
Resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Food Scraps 360 for collection of compostable waste and the provision of composting services to City of Troy residents. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zalusky. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Steele. Discussion?
Council President,
Yes, Councilmember Cummings.
just to reiterate my thanks to everyone involved in making this happen. Great to see a pilot happening on this. I also just want to put on the record, I think the agreement will be changed to have the mayor be the authorized signatory. That's not in the resolution, so it doesn't matter, but just to put that on the record.
Good point. Thank you. Further questions, discussion?
Council President.
Yes, Councilmember Zalusky.
First of all, since Councilman Cummings was issuing some thanks, I also want to thank him because he was on our, as he remembers, the composting committee that in some ways could be considered the genesis for all of this. We had a group years ago that studied municipal composting, came back to us with a series of recommendations. Nothing ever happens fast enough in local government. So it took a few years, but here we are with this pilot program. And already I know that Food Scraps is out in phase 1. We might even be in phase 2 now. I don't know. But I also say that I went down to the Bethlehem compost facility for that demo. And I think we had about 12 people, all from Troy, to check. Well, I shouldn't say all from Troy. There were a few that were not from Troy, but mostly Troy residents, and pretty cool stuff they're doing down there in Bethlehem. So what a great partner to have. They've got, I mean, the amount of compost they're generating is ridiculous. And they're even making their own bags of compost, stamped with the town of Bethlehem on it, and you can buy the bags. I think our program has compost available at a discount to participants in the program. So for those people that are not as enterprising as some of us, I don't know if Councilman Cummings is that enterprising, but for those people that are actually doing their own composting, they're maintaining their own compost heaps, maybe this is not as useful a program, but for the many other people in the city that don't compost themselves, this is incredible. I mean, this is going to take a huge percentage of waste, food waste, out of our waste stream and divert that into basically reusable. Effectively, we're taking the foods that we grow and eat, the waste from that we're going to use to grow more food. I mean, it's really, really cool. So this is a great program. Glad to see we're doing it. I'm going to anticipate ahead of time here. I'm going to predict that it's going to be a successful program, and that we will roll this out citywide. And in a few years, we'll be talking about it like it was always common sense to be doing it. So thank you to everyone that pushed for this. And I hope this, hopefully this will work out for us. And I'm very confident it will. And I will be supporting it, of course.
Council President.
Thank you, Councilmember Zaluski. Councilmember Cummings.
Since I've been called out, no. I'll just say this is another reason why this program's super important, because my property, for example, has no room for an on-site compost bin, just to I live in an apartment building. So I have to, I partner with a local farm and send it off to there, but that's a lot of effort for a random residents, and probably wouldn't even be able to do that if I wasn't lucky enough to have someone that works there in my building. So for that, I think a program like this that provides pickup is it's what's needed for many residents who don't have a backyard they can compost in, and we'll love to see it grow.
No pun intended.
But
compost actually doesn't grow. It shrinks down as you compost it. It
kind of
helps
the
other
reverse.
things grow.
I had a question, because I have wanted, if you recall, I had asked Renee to set this up and I wasn't able to go. Do they also, guys, have an anaerobic digester, or are they not there yet?
I don't know. I didn't. They have this huge device. It's not. I don't think it's a digester. It's something that they. I don't know what it's, I
churning
can't remember
device,
what
right? It churns.
Yes, it's got a huge
windrow.
Yes, huge cylinder
Okay.
that separates stuff out. But I don't think that's what you're talking about.
No, I mean, I've seen one, and they're just super, super neat. So I was curious, because you said they're actually growing food, where an anaerobic digester does something different. So yeah, I was just curious. Cool.
Yeah, and I did see, even though it was really cold the day we were down there, we were freezing. But there was steam coming off the compost heaps. It's pretty cool. It gets very, very hot underneath all that. So
Yeah. How big was it?
a big area. They had like massive mounds, probably I'd say between 7 to 10 huge mounds of compost, like mountains worth of compost. It's pretty cool.
Cool. I'm going to make my way down there now that the budget's over and the schedule frees up a little bit and work. So yeah, I definitely want to go down there. Very, very cool.
Yeah, I threw some photos up on Facebook from the visitation, so you can kind of get the scale of how large these the mounds are.
Cool. Okay. Further questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Resolution 96 passes, 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Very cool stuff. Resolution 98. That was a joke. Resolution 97. I wanted to see who was awake.
Resolution establishing and appointing an independent commission to examine the population within the boundaries of the 6 council districts of the city of Troy and to recommend a plan of redistricting if required. Councilmember Zaluski.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Cummings. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, Councilmember Zaluski. So I'll hand you off to the sponsor. Yep.
I will,
I'll hand it off to you, and obviously then we'd like to discuss.
Yep. So I before we even discuss it, I guess I'm going to motion to amend, because what we passed out of finance had some blanks in the resolution. So I emailed to the city clerk and all of us with, sorry for the lateness as usual, but we have 7 names on the list and 2 dates to fill in. So if we want to scroll down in the, I'm sorry, I say scroll down, people that have paper just look down, but in the resolution under the be it further resolved, the second be it resolved, the list of 7 names, I guess I'll read them out loud, even though they were emailed to everybody. These are in alphabetical order. I'm not going to read out the addresses or political parties. We are definitely following the stipulation in the charter that says that no more than 4 of the 7 members can be a member of the can be registered in the same political party. The 7 members that we're proposing, which is a combination of names that the majority and the minority have submitted, are as follows. Jerry Ford Jr., Blaze Hartley, Peter Kehoe, Robert Martiniano, Jill Nagy, Mary Sweeney, and Agnes Zink. And I can talk about, well, we can talk about that later, but let me fill in the next blanks. For the next be it further resolved, that would be the 3rd resolved. The date that the independent commission shall report its findings. This is either on or before. So of course, if they're speedy, they can submit as soon as they want. But the date that we've proposed is March 31st, 2022, which would give the commission a healthy 3 months plus whatever's remaining in December to determine if indeed the city needs to be redistricted. That's what the findings part is. That's a report to the city council. That report will very likely be going to the next city council with their findings. And then the next date, the next resolved clause, this is when if the commission finds that the city is in violation of the charter, meaning that 1 or more districts have fallen below 13% of the population or are above 18% of the population, which forces a mandatory redistricting, then that plan must be submitted by, and that date will be June 30th, 2022, which is a full 6, well, actually almost 7 months from the time that this will pass, but let's say 6 months into 2022. So we have the 7 names and the 2 dates, and that should complete the blanks in the resolution. So that is my motion to amend.
We have a motion. We have a second discussion.
Well, I'll second the motion.
Yeah, we need it. Yeah.
I thought we did get a second. Okay, on the amendment, we do have a second. Councilmember Cummings, discussion. I'm going to take a slow
Council
roll.
President?
Yep, Councilman. Yeah, Council.
We can just vote.
Sure. Slow roll. Mara.
Councilman Gully,
No.
Councilmember Ash McPherson,
No.
Councilmember Steele,
Aye.
Councilmember Cummings,
Just to explain my vote, I think it's incredibly important that this commission be able to be a strong and independent commission to draw the lines that are needed to enhance representation of our neighborhoods. I think we've gone out of the normal playbook here by not, I think quite often redistricting commissions are filled with political operatives, and even if it's independent, it's a group of political operatives from either side. In this case, we're naming groups recommended by and members of the NAACP, the Justice Center of Rensselaer County, and the League of Women Voters to really be able to draw independent districts that, again, enhance representation for our neighborhoods and for our residents. So I just want to make sure that that's clear with the motivation for these names, and to note that while we're recommending them, they didn't come straight from us. They came from various civic organizations as well, and I think they'll do a great job representing those organizations and representing their neighborhoods and the people of Troy. So that being said, I vote yes.
Councilmember Zalewski,
To explain my vote, Councilman Cummings, as is typically the case lately, has basically taken my talking points. I do want to say that all of these individuals are involved in the community, have diverse skill sets, and they're diverse people. As Councilman Cummings said, they come to us from respected organizations in the city. We really tried to keep politics out of it as much as possible, and just have people that care about the city and that will take the process of redistricting as seriously as possible. The truth is, our city is small. We only have 6 districts. There's only so much, you can do to move things around. But, still, this is the opportunity to correct problems in our districts. I don't know if I said this last time or not, but my own district, District 5, is an example of what I would call poor district redistricting, where neighborhoods were actually separated, where you have, parts of South Troy in my district and parts in a separate district. And then my district goes up the hill into the east side, where the east side is then cut up into multiple districts. So that's not conducive to neighborhood continuity. And, I understand there were probably reasons why they did it many, many, many years ago, but this is that opportunity that we have to do things the right way. And, I don't know, very well the individuals that the minority submitted, but I know them fairly well. I've worked with all 4 of them to some extent, and I have confidence in them, as well as I have confidence in the individuals that we've put forward. I think that these are really remarkable folks, and I think they'll do a great job. We'll see what happens, but I vote yes.
Councilmember McDermott,
Yes.
Council President Mantello.
I'll explain my vote. They're all wonderful, wonderful people. I guess my disappointment in this, we didn't get them until, well, now, 3 hours ago, but an hour before the meeting. I did send 4 names to Councilmember Zaluski for potential appointment. Great people, neighborhood people. And we didn't get the last name until I think right before the meeting. And I ended up getting 6 names late this afternoon or this evening. Saying that, I am disappointed that the minority did not at least get 3 appointments. While, as Councilmember Zaluski stated, the majority is abiding by the charter with 4, no more than 4 members from the same party. They did not consider at least 4 appointments for the majority, 3 appointments for the minority. So the minority in this case only received 2 appointments. And of course, the majority's right, because, they have great people. Our people, well, 2 of them might have been political. Well, you also have political people. So let's be honest with folks. So saying that, some of the folks are political, some aren't. They're all tremendous, wonderful people. Saying that, I also am very, very disappointed that no one on the proposed independent commission is from North Troy. Not one person. We have people from the east side. We have people South Troy. There is one in South Landsandberg over by Councilmember Ash McPherson lives in her district. Councilmember Gully, you have no one in North Troy. No one Miami Estates area. So saying that, one of our members, and we did when we were looking at the proposed commission, we looked geographically and we ensured that we had, at least 4 of our appointments kind of represented the city as a whole. So saying that, I'm extremely disappointed that we don't have someone from North Landsandberg, and I vote no.
The amendment passes 4 ayes and 3 noes.
Okay, on the amended resolution, is there a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Cummings. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, Councilmember Zaluski. On the discussion. Mara, I'll ask for a slow roll. Actually,
Councilmember Gully,
go ahead. Yep.
No.
Councilmember Ash McPherson,
No.
Councilmember Steele,
Aye.
Councilmember Cummings,
Hi.
Councilmember Zaluski,
Aye.
Councilmember McDermott,
Yes.
Council President Mantello.
I will state, this is very serious. We only get to do this every census, and I am extremely disappointed that the majority did not consider at least 3 appointments by the minority, but a new majority is coming in next year. We'll see where it goes. I don't know.
Resolution 97 passes, 4 ayes, 3 noes.
All right. Last but not least, Resolution 98.
Resolution condemning ballot harvesting abuses and urging the New York State legislatures to enact restrictions on the release of absentee ballots to third-party individuals. Councilmember Zaluski.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion, Councilmember Steele. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Zaluski. Discussion.
Council President?
Yes, Councilmember Zaluski.
We already discussed this in finance. I don't think there's a need to rediscuss it. There was a number in there that I did want to fix because it actually was not the correct number, but I don't think it's still an impactful number the way it is. The correct number is actually more. So I was too few in the number of ballots I published there, but I don't think it's even worth putting us through trying to amend it. So I'll just keep things as is and hope that the legislature will take action on this.
Thank you, Councilmember Zaluski. I will disclose I'm a policymaker for a state senator who potentially will be not only debating this bill potentially, but voting on it. And I do guide her through legislation. So ethically, I have been informed while working for the Senate, I must recuse myself on home rule bills or requests to the state legislature. So I have to recuse. Further discussion?
Council President,
Yes, Councilmember Gully.
there's a fine line behind doing a great job or cheating a great job. And I know that there's a lot of concern over people who go out there and just multiply go out to homes and get ballots. But then there's some people who go out and help numerous people get those ballots, which helps that process along. I understand it's bad and good and everything, but I think that this resolution looking to push that forward just kind of takes out all the hard work that some of the good, honest people do. I can't tell you about the ones that get caught and get fraud tickets on them or whatever they do after they do something like that. But I can tell you that there's a lot of great people who worked for me and many others this year and many other past elections that went out and helped. So while I don't enjoy the extravagance of somebody cheating the system, I realize that this resolution is just something to push everybody forward. But in the end, it could hurt the real hardworking people who work and are loyal to their parties, not just because they're political operatives, but because they're loyal to the people they think can really help them move the city in a good direction. So I won't be voting for this tonight.
Thank you,
President.
Councilmember Gully. Further discussion?
Council President.
Yes, Councilmember Cummings.
So I guess certainly we've seen, there's a lot of hard work that goes into getting absentee ballots out and getting people to vote. And I think that work certainly for the most part should continue. I think what I'm advocating for in this is that the step after helping the voter get an absentee ballot be conducted by a neutral third party, the post office. There's an existing system for that. You help someone fill out a ballot request form. if you don't check the give it to X political operative box and instead check the give it to the post office box, they will have a ballot delivered to their door, and they will have an opportunity to fill it out and send it right back, or drop it off at the Board of Elections. And I think that provides just as much ease to the voter to actually do the work of voting without providing nearly as much opportunity for that fraud that you discussed. So I think it's incredibly important, or whether or not it's fraud, also opportunity for pressure and for putting voters in uncomfortable positions. And so that if we can have most of the ballots that get delivered by a postal service carrier, I think that helps the process be much more fair and be much more respectful of individual voters. So that's why I'm supporting this.
Thank you, Councilmember Cummings. Further discussion, questions?
Council President?
Members.
Yep, Councilmember Steele.
I just wanted to echo what I said in committee. I really do feel that our electoral process works well sometimes, but there's lots of room for improvement. And so I think it's great that we are forwarding this on to our state legislators to take a look at this particular issue. There's a great difference between someone being helpful with their neighbor or someone bringing in 450 ballots, the same individual. And so I think that we're doing a good community service by forwarding this on to our state legislators, and I hope they will hear us and take action. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Steele.
Chair.
Councilmember Ash McPherson.
Councilman Zalewski, you're talking of a letter that you're going to send off. Are you signing the letter with your names on it individually? Because
No,
I'm
this is-
asking not to have my name on.
Can I answer that question, Council
Yeah,
President?
I know, I'm asking you that
No,
question.
but you have to go through the chair.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Councilmember Zalewski.
Thank you. This is a piece of legislation. It's not a letter.
Okay.
If it passes, it will go as a piece of legislation. Our names are not actually stamped on it, and the vote tally is not stamped on it. It either passes or it doesn't. And if it passes, it will go to our legislators.
Chair.
Councilmember Ash McPherson.
Does it pass as a majority? Does it say in there a majority?
Councilmember Zalewski.
You're asking me if yes, a majority vote will pass this resolution.
No,
yes.
no, I get that. What I'm asking is on the letter, does it say pass by majority or just say pass?
No,
I just don't want my name or my attached to it. That's all I'm asking.
The legislation doesn't.
Yeah, I'll jump in. So Councilmember Ash McPherson, when the letter goes, Mara will, should the mayor sign it, will ensure who voted for it in the vote. Okay.
Yeah, if I could just jump in and clarify, at the bottom of all legislation that gets passed, I put the vote tally of who approved, or it says the number approved, the noes, and the names are there, and then the abstentions are there. And then the mayor signs it, the corporation council signs it, and then I sign it to certify that I received their signatures. So I will send a certified copy of the resolution, and it will indicate who voted for and who voted against.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Thank you, Councilmember Ash McPherson, Councilmember Zalewski. Further discussion? Take a slow roll.
Councilmember Gully,
No.
Councilmember Ash McPherson,
No.
Councilmember Steele,
Aye.
Councilmember Cummings,
Yes.
Councilmember Zalewski,
Aye.
Councilmember McDermott,
Yes.
and Council President Mantello has recused herself.
Thank you.
Resolution 98 passes 4 ayes, 2 noes, and 1 recusal.
All right, that concludes a longer night than anticipated, but some really good stuff moving forward. Good debate, good discussion, one of our soon-to-be final meetings. I wish everyone a safe and wonderful evening. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. You didn't get them, Councilmember Gully. Is there a second?
You gotta get a
Second,
faster mouse.
Councilmember Ash McPherson, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, good night.
Good night,
Good
everybody.
night.
Good night.